healthcare facility. Before that, in Israel, he had a complicated conversation about Iran with caretaker Prime Minister Yair Lapid. The president wants talks on reviving the Iran nuclear deal to be given more time.
I continue to believe that diplomacy is the best way to achieve this outcome.
The Israeli Prime Minister, standing alongside President Biden, disagreed.
Words will not stop them, Mr. President. The only thing that will stop Iran is knowing that if they continue to develop their nuclear program, the free world will use force.
When the president returns to Washington, domestic problems abound. Inflation hit another 40-year high, 9.1% year-on-year for June. And a new poll showed almost two-thirds of Democrats don't want to see Joe Biden running for re-election, although he chose to accentuate the positive.
You guys are all the same. That poll showed that 92% of Democrats, if I ran, would vote for me.
In the UK, the race is on to succeed Prime Minister Boris Johnson. 11 candidates were up for the challenge at the start of the week. By the end of it, only 5 were still standing, with former Chancellor Rishi Sunak, Foreign Secretary Liz Truss and Trade Minister Penny Mordaunt considered the front-runners. The House of Representatives Committee investigating last year's violent insurrection by Donald Trump's supporters on Capitol Hill heard evidence relating to a proposal President Trump was considering to seize the nation's voting machines. It never happened, but only because it was blocked by his top lawyers. Congresswoman Liz Cheney, one of the dissident Republicans on the panel.
Donald Trump had access to more detailed and specific information showing that the election was not actually stolen than almost any other American. And he was told this over and over again.
The Trump family, meanwhile, is mourning following the death of Ivana Trump, the former president's ex-wife. She died of an apparent heart attack in New York at the age of 73. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN. On Wall Street this week, investors will be turning their attention to corporate quarterly figures as earnings season ramps up. Traders will want to see how red-hot inflation and raising interest rates have impacted companies' bottom lines. From FSN's business desk in New York, Will Denzelo with the preview.
Last week's Consumer Price Index report showed that inflation in the US is up at 41-year highs. That news has fueled speculation that the Federal Reserve may move even more aggressively in a bid to ease price pressures. The Fed convene at the end of the month, but inflation fears will continue to dominate sentiment on Wall Street in the coming trading week. Earnings season is also kicking into gear, and traders will be eager to see how those price pressures are influencing company bottom lines.
The Hong Kong government accused the US of cheap bullying behaviour last week after a congressional report said more sanctions may be imposed on city officials to protect public freedoms. From FSN's bureau in Hong Kong, Richard Kimber covered that story.
The Hong Kong government says the US is spreading misinformation about the city and attempting to intimidate its top prosecutors. A report from the United States Congressional Executive Commission on China said there had been an erosion of rule of law and human rights in Hong Kong, and that the international community might need to issue further sanctions against Hong Kong prosecutors in response to a growing number of political prisoners in the city. The Hong Kong government is dismissing that, and so too is the city's top legal association. It says all prosecutions are legally justified and based on evidence.
Stories will report in the coming week a red heatwave alert that weather forecasters say could cost lives in the UK. We'll keep covering the race to succeed Boris Johnson as UK Prime Minister, and the European Central Bank is poised to raise interest rates. Those stories here and on Twitter at Feature Story, and that is the Week in Review from Feature Story News. Simon Marks reporting.
Odds are, if you've looked outside recently, you've noticed that all dogs everywhere are running. Scientists can't explain why all over the world dogs of every breed are running nonstop. I'm joined now by animal behavior expert Dr. Charles Davenport. Charles, what can you tell us?
All we know for sure is that the dogs are running fast.
But we don't know why the dogs are running?
There are a few reasons that dogs normally run. Because they're excited or scared, or they see something they want far away, or because they're happy. However, usually they don't run at the same time or in the same direction.
Do we have any idea where the dogs are running?
West. All the dogs are running west.
Do we expect the dogs to ever stop running?
We don't know. Animal behavior can evolve over time. Maybe running forever is just what the dogs do now.
Dr. Davenport, is there any chance that the running dogs are somehow related to last night's blue meteor shower? Or the fact that horses are screaming?
Inconclusive.
Well, please keep us posted. Up next, where are all the children?
This is the Onion News Network. Free Talk Live.
And we're back, as Richie Rich would say.
Captain's log, stardate 7/17/2022. I said that wrong compared to the way I normally say that.
Sounded good.
But hey, whatever.
You're the captain.
This is Free Talk Live. We are a live call-in radio talk program where you can take control of the airwaves and talk about whatever is on your mind. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the Lord Reverend Dr. Captain Kickass, joining me.
Steve Classic.
And Nikki.
What are you doing?
I'm
you throw it back to
I'm
me.
turning around and yes, part of the job of the first chair host is to occasionally press some buttons and turn some dials. Whether or not I get them right, I guess, only the folks listening will be able to tell us. But yeah, every now and again you gotta make a little adjustment. So
sounds great.
So
you do a great job, Captain.
Hey, thanks, man. I don't know if I actually do, but we're doing a radio show, I guess. So
Yeah,
here we
I guess
are.
so. Yeah.
It's the abnormal Sunday crew. Right? We haven't had the actual normal Sunday crew for quite some time.
Is this the normal Sunday crew?
This is the abnormal Sunday
this is
crew.
the abnormal.
Because you're the third Sunday of the month.
Yeah.
I think that's
I'm
how
part-time,
y'all roll.
part-time. Yeah.
You're like the substitute teacher.
Right. Anything goes.
So we're going to watch a movie?
He's going to roll in the AV cart
Yep.
with the top-load VHS player, and we're going to watch a cartoon that was produced in 1963.
The dinosaur has the brain the size of a...
We'll fight over who gets to turn the film strip whenever the cassette goes beep.
Yeah,
and it lets you
Be
know
kind,
that
rewind.
that it's your turn to... I'm showing my age here.
Oh, boy.
So we're going to do something different tonight because we have this bit from fee.org, and it is 12 truth bombs from Milton Friedman. If you don't know who Milton Friedman is, I will tell you.
Good.
He's an American economist. He rose to prominence in the second half of the 20th century as one of the leading critics of the prevailing economic theories of John Maynard Keynes. His economic philosophies are known as Keynesian
economics.
Keynesianism, and they are wrong, in my opinion. I won't.
And we'll find out.
Yeah. Anyway, his mixed economy model became the standard. This is Keynes for many developed nations during and after the World War II era. Friedman was born in Brooklyn to a Jewish family of modest means in 1912. He distinguished himself scholastically at a young age. After graduating high school at age 16, he attended Rutgers University, where he studied math and economics. He continued his education at the University of Chicago, where he received an MA in economics and would ultimately retire in 1977 after more than 30 years of teaching, a year after receiving the Nobel Prize for his contributions to economic science. So the dude is revered. He won a Nobel Prize for economics. So,
I mean, he was out of the high school at 16.
yeah.
So, yeah, he's pretty smart, I think.
Smart dude. Smart dude. Friedman continued writing and speaking publicly through various mediums, magazine columns, and television, academic journals, and newspaper op-eds until his death in 2006. So I figured, well, there's 12 of these things, and we have 12 segments in a show, 4 per hour.
Wow.
I mean, I couldn't have asked for them to write a better article. I just thought we'd lead each.
Yeah, it sounds
segment.
like you're good at math, too.
Well, thank you, Milton Friedman, right? For showing me the way. Yeah, because Keynesian, they'd be like, I don't know if we have enough to do 12 or whatever, right? We have to multiply 12 times the amount of hosts that are here minus the listeners.
Shorten the show.
And then the state would have to approve it after you buy your license. All right, so without further ado, The Economist, that's a publication, has described Friedman as a giant among economists and the most influential economist of the second half of the 20th century. And so, number one, of the 12 things he said to serve as food for thought.
Whoa. Are we starting with number 12 and then going to number 1? Like counting up, or we're just counting down?
We're just going to go 1 through 12.
Okay.
1 through 12.
Okay,
yes.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's not like the top 5 at 5. I'm no Casey Kasem.
Yeah.
I'm not. Here's your long distance dedication.
And now number 1.
Well, we just want to make this really complicated.
Are you guys sure you're not Keynesian? Because it's kind of what Keynesian economics
We're wasting time here.
Yeah. Number 1. Underlying most arguments against the free market is a lack of belief in freedom itself.
Sounds legit.
True. I would say true.
I mean, it has to be, because we don't even have a free market in what is supposed to be the freest country in the world, right? Mm-hmm. Which we know it isn't. It's the largest empire in the world. The market itself is anything but free. You know where you can find a relatively free market?
I do not know.
Garage sales.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
I love a good garage sale.
And you have to pay with cash. So when the cash goes away, then they're going to start taxing garage sales, like with the central bank digital currency.
Bitcoin.
Yeah, we've done
Crypto.
stories about, like, the man will show up at a garage sale and be like, "Oh, you can't sell that."
Right, and then you'll get a 1099 saying that you made more than $600 on stuff that you've already purchased with taxable
and taxed, taxed. With money that you've earned that you've been taxed on already.
Exactly.
And, yeah, we've done stories about lemonade stands.
Right.
Yeah, I was just thinking that, where the cops come and harass little kids.
Do you have a tax
permit?
Yeah, sales and use permit?
Yeah. No, sir. I'm 6.
These lemons aren't registered with the Board of Lemon Distribution.
Right.
You can't use these in your lemonade. Right. I'm afraid we're going to have to confiscate those, and then they take them home and then have their own kids make lemonade and sell it out on their front lawn or whatever. So, yes, definitely, underlying most arguments against the free market is a lack of belief in freedom itself. I maintain that there is a huge portion of the population of the United States that does not believe in freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
82%? 82%?
I was about to say the majority of it.
Yeah. Like, the overriding attitude when you start speaking to people about freedom, their first reaction is, "Oh yeah, I'm American, I'd love freedom." And then you go, "Okay, well, have you noticed how much you don't actually have? What do you mean?" And then you start laying it out for them. Well, we just did the bit about taxes, right? So you start laying that out for them. They're like, "Oh, well, but without taxes,
who's got to pave the roads?
The roads. And how would we protect ourselves from foreign invasion?" And like all of the... To us, as libertarians, anarchists, freedom-oriented people, voluntarists, whatever you want to call us.
Free thinkers,
we've heard all of these arguments, and we know they're ridiculous because there are solutions for every one of them, and you're not going to see them. The rest of the United States, the rest of the world is not going to see them because the government claims monopoly on these products and services. They don't allow competition, period. If the police in my town do a crappy job of security, too bad, pay up or go to jail. And if you don't want to go to jail, they purport the authority to shoot you if you don't like it.
That's right.
So, yeah, there is no free market. Can either of you name a thing that you've purchased in your entire life that wasn't somehow attached or regulated by government?
That sounds incriminating. I choose not to answer this question.
Okay. Most people...
Am I legally required to answer that question?
You are not.
Am I being detained?
Am I free to go?
Wait, let me see if I can... You're detained now. Okay.
Hey.
Yeah, the captain's got the cough button.
Don't cut my mic.
I got mute buttons. Also, no mic drops. I just want to say this equipment's expensive.
Yeah.
Well, also a little difficult to disassemble, but just,
You're right.
I just want to say the equipment is sensitive.
Well,
and
if the people who drop the mic have never paid for the mic.
That's a good point.
This is often the case.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever seen anybody do a mic drop where they owned the mic.
What about the rock and roll guys, the smashing the guitars?
That's a little different than a mic drop. And usually with the smashing of the guitars, those are staged.
Come on, don't ruin this for me.
Cheapy $100 guitar.
No, I've seen like where they like literally perforate the guitar before the show. So like it kind of looks like the guitar that the guy was just playing, but they hand him a fake guitar like at the last end of the song or whatever, that kind of a thing. And so when they go to smash it, it just smashes easily because they perforated it already.
I would have been fine not knowing that. Just ruined that for me.
You're welcome, and I'm sorry. Wait, I'm sorry, and you're welcome.
It's all right. I like to know the truth. It was good for me.
Did you know that when you see all the big speaker cabinets at concerts, that a whole bunch of them are empty?
Really?
Oh, don't ruin it for us, Captain.
Ruining your musical experience here on Free Talk Live. More coming up, 603-283-6160.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
Brute force, intransigent defiance, adamantine will. These are the hallmarks of the AI tank. These gigantic machines have the firepower of an army, but they also have their own sense of honor and duty. When the world breakers arrive, battle will be joined, planets will shake, and war and peace will never be the same again. World Breakers. Stories from David Weber, Larry Correia, and more. Available August 3rd from BaneBooks.com.
I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, the founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I didn't even know my teeth were coffee stained. A week's worth of use convinced me, and now I use it every 3 or 4 days. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better, too. My Magic Mud's available at most local health food stores, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, CVS, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle, but I can get it for you for 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at MyMagicMud.com. FTL20, MyMagicMud.com.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
There are basically 2 types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
Yes, it is Free Talk Live. We're a live radio call-in program where you can take control of the airwaves and talk about whatever's on your minds. The telephone number here in the studio, 603-283-6160. Again, 603-283-6160. In the studio, it's myself, the captain.
Steve Classic.
And Richie Rich. Oh, I mean, Nikki Sunshine.
Gosh, Richie, I've really never said this to a man before. No, I'm just kidding.
Where's your Bitcoin shirt?
It's under this dress.
You look different shaved.
I clean up well.
You've got your hair done, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
We've been talking about this story from FEE, which is 12 truth bombs, according to Milton Friedman, the Nobel Prize-winning economist. And number one was basically saying the underlying most arguments against the free market is a lack of belief in freedom itself. And I think we covered that pretty well. I don't think there is a whole lot of people who value freedom in the United States. If you are one of these persons and you want to move to a place where there are other people who value freedom as much, if not more than you, consider relocating to New Hampshire as part of the freedom migration. You can find out all about that over at the freestateproject.org. And there's a whole bunch of other things that you can check out. You can check out 101reasonsfilm.com for 101 reasons to move if you're into that kind of thing. So we're going to kick off every segment with another one of these truth bombs from Milton Friedman. So number 2, I'm in favor of legalizing drugs. According to my value system, if people want to kill themselves, they have every right to do so. Most of the harm that comes from drugs is because they are illegal.
Also, most drugs aren't really harmful. Most drugs won't kill you. Like LSD probably won't kill you. Mushrooms, weed.
Yeah.
There's some things like heroin and meth and crack. Those things could definitely kill you, but not unless you have excessive use. If you like smoke crack once, it's very unlikely that you're just going to die.
And like the legal one is
prescription
right up there.
opioids.
Yeah,
those will kill you.
That's legal.
I'm talking about alcohol, right?
Yeah.
That one will kill you.
Right.
Right. But
kills way more people than the other drugs.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know that there has ever been anyone who's overdosed on marijuana. I don't know. I know plenty of people who do plenty of marijuana or have done plenty of marijuana.
Right.
And I one time, I had joined a band and my drummer's girlfriend or somebody brought over a killer joint, and it was some of the best we'd ever had, even to this day. And I kind of got a little dizzy. I'd been drinking already, and that when you combine the two, it's a little, and so I had to lay down for a minute. It was that potent. But I didn't OD. You
can't OD on pot. I think you would just get so stupid you wouldn't know how to light the joint.
But I think the bigger point is that the violence found in, we'll call it the drug industry, for lack of a better term, because it's all underground, right? The illegal drugs, right? Not the over-the-counter stuff, not the prescription stuff. But even including that, it is the entity most folks refer to as the government that brings the violence to these situations. It's as far as the prescription and over-the-counter stuff, it's the regulations involved with, you got to have a license to get them. You can't sell too much of that. And, they don't want people making bathtub cranks, so they got to track how many Sudafeds are sold, or whatever it is, right? And then with regards to, we'll call them illegal drugs or the black market drugs, there's been one thing that has reduced the violence in black market drugs more than all of the law enforcement agencies combined, more than all of the legislation combined worldwide, and that was the Silk Road. That was Ross Ulbricht and the Silk Road. He took the violence out of buying and selling drugs.
Well, and you know what? There's also been countries and certain cities that have decriminalized drug use, and they saw crime rates go way down.
Yes. And that's time and time and time and time again. But the legislators don't want to admit that. They don't want to be like, we were wrong. We shouldn't have made all these stupid laws that bring violence into people's lives, when they're just trying to find a little escape from their lives, when they're trying to be recreational about it.
But when you take the drugs from the drug dealers and now the government is dispensing the stuff. Who's worse?
I mean,
Well, that's the thing. They want a monopoly on drug addiction.
Yes.
And the violence that goes with it.
Right.
I don't know.
They want the control over the situation, or at least to be able to exert the violence. They're the only entity bringing the violence. If it wasn't for government, drug cartels, at least the as they operate in the United States as gangs, they would just be turned into businesses.
Right.
Like legit businesses. You'd see like pop-ups, you'd see storefronts, like you do with marijuana, where it's been legalized in a whole bunch of states now. Massachusetts,
Connecticut,
Washington, Colorado were the first couple to go, and there's been, I don't know, a dozen or so that have followed in their footsteps, and there's more coming. But what happens in those areas is, yes, it's still highly regulated, but people open a store.
And they pay taxes.
You can go online and be like, oh, I'd like some Kush, and I'd like some Purple Durple, and I'd like some, oh, do you sell accessories? Oh, you got edibles? I want some chocolates too, right?
And don't forget the sales tax with that.
Well, okay. but my
it's legal.
point is that when you legalize it, you take the violence out of it, right?
The criminal
So what I don't like is these states that are making it legal and regulating the crap out of it. In Washington state alone, they are taxed close to 50% at every level. So the growers, they're taxed almost 50%.
That's crazy.
The distributors are taxed almost 50%. And then the retail stores themselves are taxed at almost 50%. And if you run one of those three businesses, you cannot be involved in the other two. So if you're a grower, you can't be a retailer or a distributor. If you're a distributor,
so the government doesn't want a monopoly?
They don't want no, they want to monopolize the segregation of these businesses. What they don't want is somebody growing, being their own, self-distributing, and then selling their own thing, which, why not? What's wrong with that? If I own, 20 acres of land and I have no use for my land and I want to grow a profitable crop, why can't I grow my own? Why can't I have some sort of a manufacturing facility in my garage?
Roadside stand?
Roll my own joints and sell them on the side of the road like they do tomatoes and squash.
Exactly. Come to the farmer's market. Have a bushel.
Right?
Why not, right? Why can't you have a guy selling weed at the farmer's market, right?
Yeah.
Set up a stand at the flea market, right? Or the carnival or whatever, right? Who cares? Why is none of that allowed?
It must be the taxes, the control. Or both, control and taxes.
So I just looked up from prisonpolicyinitiative.org. 1 in 5 people incarcerated are locked up for a drug-related offense.
Yes.
So 1 in 5.
Yeah.
And how much does that cost to keep those people there?
A lot.
36,000, 40,000, 50,000 a year.
Roughly 40,000 a year per person. Yeah. So the next time your legislators want to, cry that they don't have enough money to do something, tell them to let some of these drug offenders out of jail and recoup that money. 603-283-6160. Coming up, more of the 12 truth bombs from Milton Friedman, plus your calls. 603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live's video archives have been on LBRY for years. LBRY is an uncensorable, decentralized, blockchain-based media sharing protocol, and we're big fans of it here on Free Talk Live. In 2020, LBRY launched Odysee, a video sharing website to compete with YouTube, and it's really taking off. Now with over 1 million channels, many of whom are disaffected YouTube creators. During YouTube's crackdown for not towing the government line on COVID, the Free Talk Live YouTube channel started receiving strikes and could be completely taken down at any moment. Thankfully, Odysee started offering live streaming, so we're now streaming live every night and posting our video archives permanently to Odysee. You can watch live or anytime on our Odysee channel by visiting video.freetalklive.com. If you want to go all in, download the desktop app at lbry.com, and then every video archive you watch, you'll help seed and keep it online forever. At minimum, we ask you visit video.freetalklive.com and follow us on Odysee today. video.freetalklive.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. Raging wildfires have ripped through parts of southern Europe and the Mediterranean, from France to Morocco to Greece. Thousands of people have been evacuated from their homes, and firefighters have been battling soaring temperatures to try and put out the flames. On Sunday, Spain hit more than 40 degrees Celsius. Authorities in Portugal, which at one stage hit a July record of 47 degrees Celsius, say almost 700 mostly elderly people have died in the last week because of the heat. Heat waves increase the risk of heat stroke, among other things, with health experts particularly worried about older people and those with underlying health conditions. In the UK, temperatures are expected to reach 41 degrees in some areas. A June paper in the journal Environmental Research, Climate, found climate change has increased the intensity and likelihood of heat waves, which can be directly linked to tens of thousands of deaths. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has sacked his security chief Ivan Bakhanov, as well as the country's prosecutor general. Sergio Olmos has more on this major overhaul from the capital, Kyiv.
The firing of the prosecutor general is significant because Ukraine is at the moment investigating some 23,000 cases of alleged war crimes, coupled with the firing of the head of the SBU. This is Ukraine's internal security service, kind of like their FBI. The head of the SBU is a childhood friend of President Volodymyr Zelensky. The SBU has been coming under criticism since the war began for strategic failures that have led to real setbacks for Ukraine. Many cities, smaller cities like Chernihiv, held out while major strategic cities like Kherson were able to be captured. This has been blamed on failures by the SBU.
A new report into May's mass shooting at a primary school in Uvalde, Texas, which killed 21 people, has found systemic failures in the overall response. The 77-page document was released by the Texas House Committee. The committee's report was delivered to the families of victims before being made public. It blamed Robb Elementary School for failing to adhere to safety protocols. Republican State Representative Dustin Burrows said it became clear to the committee that the school was not prepared for an active shooting situation and that there was a false sense of security surrounding the school.
If there's only one thing that I can tell you is there were multiple systemic failures.
The report is also the first to criticise both federal and state law enforcement and not just local police. It also found there were almost 400 officers from various agencies at the scene of the shooting, but that none of them took clear leadership of the situation. 77 minutes elapsed between the gunman's first shots inside a classroom full of children and the police's intervention in that room. The Texas House Committee didn't come to a conclusion about whether it thought a faster response could have prevented more deaths. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
And we're back.
You should do it in like the style of the flock of seagulls, like, and we're back. We're back again today.
All right, we'll change it up.
I don't.
Next time.
Yeah, just popped
Nikki's
into my.
got the next one. So.
I don't have the, that flock of seagulls hairdo.
I used to have one.
That
of
little
those.
like one wing hanging over the front of
yeah.
his face, like kind of a thing.
It's like a Vidow's peak.
Okay, those of you watching over at video.freetalklive.com might be able to see Nikki trying to loosely imitate the flock of seagulls guy. But anyway, yeah. We are back, and it is Free Talk Live. The telephone number in the studio, if you want to call, is 603-283-6160. We're talking about these 12 truth bombs from Milton Friedman, and we'll get back to that in just a minute. You could talk about whatever's on your mind. If you're bored with this, you don't like, whatever, or you want to talk about something important to you, feel free to call 603-283-6160. And I also have to tell you that Bitcoin.com is the best source for learning about cryptocurrency. You can go there now and click on Get Started right at the top of the page. And when you do that, you're going to find all sorts of valuable information neatly organized to suit your needs. There's no longer any excuse for you to ignore this important and world-changing information. If you are already knowledgeable about crypto, you can check out news.bitcoin.com and get the latest headlines of all the news that's relevant to you. Bitcoin.com is your source for everything crypto, like getting a wallet, mining, trading, and all the latest cryptocurrency news, all on a very slick and easy-to-use website. Visit Bitcoin.com. And I want to give a shout-out to Jamie Redmond. I'm not paid to say this at all. He's just my favorite writer over at news.bitcoin.com. I really like his content, and so should you.
Don't tell me what to do.
Don't tell me not to tell you what to do. Wait.
All right.
The captain continues.
Oh, does he? Oh, right. We're doing a thing. Forgot. It's top of the segment. Thanks for keeping me on my COVID toes. Those of you listening at home, you don't know why we're laughing about COVID toes, but COVID toes is a thing, and we'll let Nikki tell you about that in a minute. But first, number 3 from Milton Friedman's Truth Bombs. With some notable exceptions, businessmen favor free enterprise in general, but are opposed to it when it comes to themselves.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
With some notable exceptions, businessmen favor free enterprise in general, but they're opposed to it when it comes to themselves. That is from a lecture titled The Suicidal Impulse of the Business Community. I don't know this for a fact, but I'm going to guess that he's implying the phenomena we see where a bunch of businesses get together and try to lobby the government to stifle some other form of business. We saw this with the taxi companies versus Uber,
right?
When that came out, I had a story for show prep, and let me see if I can find it real quick. I don't remember.
Well, and you know
what?
what? All that does is keep the rest of society down. So if other industries and other businesses aren't able to constantly develop and change, and because Uber was great,
Yes.
Uber gave people exactly what they wanted. It was an easy to use interface. It was a ton of drivers for Uber. When I need an Uber, I go on my phone and somebody comes in like 5 minutes to pick me up.
Yeah. If you live in a highly populated area, sometimes it's so quick. You're just like, really? They're here already? Like, I barely hit send. And like, yep, we're here. I'm like, whoa, really?
Like, I'm not even ready.
Like, geez, man, let me finish my beer. Speaking of beer, I have a story from Reason. New Jersey cracks down on breweries for hosting trivia nights and serving food.
Oh, come on.
How dare these breweries host trivia nights and serve food? What is wrong with them? So this is exactly the same thing as the Uber and the taxi thing that we were talking about.
Oh, this is the businessmen who want free markets, but not really.
So in New Jersey, regular bars, that is booze serving bars, right? They serve whiskey, for example, amongst
Diet
other
booze,
spirits. They've been hosting trivia nights and serving food forever. There's a difference between a bar and a brewery, right? So the microbrew wave has hit New Jersey to an extent that the bar owners now are seeing some of their clientele disappear because they're going to these microbrews.
Right, they don't like the freedom.
Well, step your game up then.
Yeah, instead of innovating, instead of making their pitch more compelling, why should you come to my bar? Instead, maybe we should do different things than trivia nights or serving food. Maybe we'll up our game a little bit or innovate in some way, shape, or form to make it interesting. No, they're not going to do any of that. They're going to lobby government to restrict breweries from hosting trivia nights and serving food.
You're going to have a license to have a trivia night. You don't have your license to have a trivia night?
I'm sorry, sir. You're operating an unlicensed trivia night. I'm sorry, you're not licensed to serve these burgers here at your brewery, despite the fact that you paid for your kitchen, had it inspected, got the license for all that. You had to get the license to serve the beer anyway.
Right.
But no, sorry. Some people over here, a group of them got together and they said, "Hey, government, will you make it more difficult for us to do business?" And they said yes.
You know what? No, you know what they did? Hey, government, here's some money. Can you destroy this person's business?
Right. The lobby did it.
And then government was like, sure, we like money.
It's like you know how all this works, Nikki.
I've seen it.
You are prophetic. Not pathetic, prophetic, as in like a prophet.
Thank you.
Prophet, not profit. Although we do find value. So, yeah, with some notable exceptions, businessmen favor free enterprise in general, but are opposed to it when it comes to themselves because they want to be the guy. They want to be the monopoly, generally speaking. And that's because of the way corporations are. And what do I mean by that? Well, corporations only exist because of government. Otherwise, you would have a family business or some other form of organization, right? Used to be before corporations existed, you would see all sorts of like family stuff that was passed down from generation to generation, skills that were passed down.
There were no shareholders.
There were none.
Right.
There were cooperative things, like everybody would pitch in and do like, oh, you're skilled at this, you're skilled. Hey, let's work together and let's make a product or a service and let's, make some money and do that. What the free market actually brings is the ability for you to create wealth while serving your fellow man. That's all the free market is. That's all that it does. Instead of robbing them or, killing them and taking their stuff, conquering certain nations of people and calling it your own, that kind of a thing. That's not necessary with a free market, because now you can just invent a product or a service, or you don't even have to invent one. You could just take one that exists and go, you know what?
We're improving it.
I really don't like the way most of the businesses do X, and I think I can do it better. I'm going to organize my own group of people, and we're going to go out and we're going to sell this thing. We're going to do it better because I think we have a better way. You've innovated. That's all innovation is. You just figured out a way to do it better.
Right.
Now it's up to the rest of the market to compete with you if they're going to, assuming that your way is actually better. Maybe you figure out a way to make it less expensive, or to make it, the quality improve, or something along those lines. Maybe you find a way to combine two different products or services together, and now it's just one big offering, and that reduces the cost because you've reduced your overhead, all that kind of a thing. So it's entirely possible to do, but this knee-jerk reaction that businesses have to sort of, my business is suffering because they're taking my business. I'm going to cry to government and make them point guns at other people. Just stop that. Just stop. I'm tired of reading about it, really.
No.
I'll continue to do so, but only because, it's stupid. It is so stupid. Did you guys not learn anything growing up?
Well, what's the golden rule? Treat others the way you want to be treated.
Do unto others.
I wouldn't want someone to rat me out to the government or, try to make my business more difficult. We're all just trying to make a living. We're all just trying to do our best. So,
yeah.
If you're going to do that to other people, next time it's your turn to,
yeah,
get your...
And there's all sorts of things that, especially in New Jersey with these bars and breweries, they could cooperate together and do all sorts of things. If they wanted
collaborate.
to do, organize bar hops so everybody gets a share of the business, right? Yeah. Sponsor some buses or something like that to take people around so nobody's driving drunk, et cetera, and so on.
There are solutions.
Innovate, up your game, stop crying to government. 603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live is on the way.
A congressman recently revealed that legislation totaling 2,900 pages and involving more than $1 trillion was available to members of Congress for less than 48 hours to study and consider. That's over 60 pages of legislation per hour. Do you think anyone read the entire bill? I'm Jim Babka with DownsizeDC.org. Consider a proposal buried in a 3,200-page, $388 billion bill, which would have empowered committee chairmen or their agents to examine Americans' tax returns. When this horrible provision came to light, no one claimed to know how it got into the bill. One congressman questioned said, "I didn't write it, I didn't approve it, I wasn't even consulted." If your attorney represented you this way, he might be disbarred. But this is how Congress represents you every day. That's why DownsizeDC.org has created the Read the Bills Act. You can force Congress to read their bills before they pass them at DownsizeDC.org.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world. So I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
And we're back.
Back we are, and live talk free. 061-638-2306.
What?
I just read the phone number backwards because
we're backwards.
I said Free Talk Live backwards, live talk free. Anyway, if you're listening to this program, it's called Free Talk Live. I don't want to not brand the show properly, even though I did. Sorry.
You're fired.
The telephone number is 603-283-6160. In the studio, it's myself, the captain,
Steve Classic,
and Nikki.
And as foretold by the prophecy, we'll read number 4 in the 12 Truth Bombs from Milton Friedman. Number 4, it's a moral problem that government is making into criminals people who may be doing something you and I don't approve of, but who are doing something that hurts nobody else.
Well, that's a truth bomb.
It certainly is. And it is a moral problem that... the government can just, and they don't even have to pass a law anymore. Everybody's doing these executive orders, right? Executive orders. You hear about the president doing them all the time. I first started hearing about it I don't know, man, maybe Obama. I was like, what's an executive order, right? And then every president since, and the number of executive orders have increased. Now governors are doing it. They did it with the COVID thing. All the governors who did the mask mandates and the lockdowns are like, by executive order, you cannot leave your house anymore. You must call Domino's only, or whatever it is.
His Excellency Ned Lamont from Connecticut.
I do have to say, from a market perspective, that during the whole lockdown thing, that Domino's was on top of their S. Right, they were on it. They increased bandwidth to their website and their mobile apps. They developed
really?
They developed a little pedestal thing they make out of cardboard. They fold it up so that it's not actually sitting on the ground or on your deck or on your whatever. So the pizza is up off the ground to keep critters or keep it from laying in a puddle or grass, stuff like that. When they leave it at your door, because what they would do is they would put your pizza, your order on top of one of these pedestals, ring your doorbell, and leave, kind of like Ding Dong Bitch. Right?
Yeah.
So.
Well, the grease would probably soak right through and get onto your porch.
But yeah, when governments do an executive order, pass some legislation that say, oh, you can't do this anymore. People have already been doing it, right? We'll take guns, for example. Oh, can't have bump stocks anymore. Right. So now you've taken a whole bunch of people who already owned bump stocks and made them into criminals just by waving your pen. And that is wrong. Let's go to some of your calls and thoughts. We have David in New Mexico. David, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, the point of this call is exposing government. And I'm going to use a professional.
I don't know that I want to be exposed by anybody in government or exposed to anybody in government. You know what I mean? Like, are you talking trench coats, bathrobes, smoking jackets? What are we talking?
Cool. Joe Monahan's NewMexico.blogspot.com. As I was saying, Joe Monahan was a professional reporter in New Mexico for a career, I believe. Friday, March 3rd, 2006 is the dateline on the first of two articles. This article is titled, Tarnished Jewel, Can Big Bill Save This Cabinet Secretary? Should he? Exclusive and new details on a special edition Friday blog. And so I'm going to use this as a guide. We're not going to get through it before you time me out, and so I'll pick up where I left off next time. The plot thickened Thursday in the Tommy Jewell. This is Judge Tommy Jewell.
Oh, wait. Sorry. When you said polished jewels, I had a different thing in mind.
Right, like testicles that some cute little girl is polishing.
Well, you mentioned Bill. I was thinking Clinton. Didn't he have his jewels polished in the White House?
Yeah, I believe that Bill got oral sex by Monica Lewinsky, a nice Jewish girl, in the bathroom of the Oval Office. If you want to picture that. There's pictures of the bathroom on the side of the Oval Office on the internet. You should look at it.
Wasn't it called the Oral Office after that? Anyway, go on with your article.
Yeah, I want to talk about fellatio some more in the Oval Office bathroom. The plot thickened Thursday in the Tommy Jewell. This is Judge Tommy Jewell, who is the husband of Judge Angela Jewell, who less than a year after this article illegally trafficked my children, and I never saw them again, and I proved that she illegally trafficked them in a win at the New Mexico Court of Appeals, a unanimous win. Continuing Judge Tommy Jewell saga with the woman who was involved in the 1999 domestic violence case in which Jewell was named. So yes, Judge Tommy Jewell had a domestic violence allegation made against him and was charged by law enforcement, and it ended up in court. And then there was a bunch of monkey business that occurred, including
monkeypox.
Pardon?
Monkeypox.
Yeah, monkeypox. That's when gay men have anal sex. That's how that gets transmitted. Did you know that?
I didn't, but you know what else occurs to me? The phrase family jewels now has a different meaning. If you're talking about the Jewell family.
Family jewels, that's typically the male genitalia, especially the testicles hanging down below the penis. That's typically the family jewels, right, Captain?
Hey, thanks for the call, David. We appreciate it. 603-283-6160. That's the phone number here.
You know, I appreciate his passion about trying to expose the government. I really do, but he does waste time. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, you're not going to give me enough time, but I'm going to complain about that instead of just saying what I want to say. It's not really helping.
Don't bore us. Get to the chorus.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's nice. Are you a musician?
No. Well, failed musician.
He's a poet, and he didn't even know it.
It's about time you made a rhyme.
Yeah.
That's 3 rhymes in a row from the host here at Free Talk Live. I feel for David in his plight that he has gone through with the family court. I have sympathy for him. He even won his case and still got no actual justice. Right?
It's so terrible.
So it is a very typical outcome for family court, much less, most of regular court. That most Americans are familiar with. The trouble is that most of the people in the United States, at least, get their information about the court system and how it all works from television. And movies, right? And it isn't until they actually start to get effed by the system that they have to go through this rapid learning process, and they become very frustrated very quickly. The government then, of course, ups their game, right? So whatever trouble they got into, the government comes down and says, okay, not only are you in this trouble, but you're also facing X, Y, Z, PDQ, and 1, 2, and 3
plead
as well.
Guilty.
So,
yeah, a minor charge.
We'll go lenient on you if you sign this confession, basically. Is, I mean, it's the nuts and bolts of the thing.
Or we'll escalate the whole situation.
Yeah. So they just throw so many things at you that you just want this attack by bureaucrats to be over.
And you'll take the lesser charge and just walk away.
So, yes. And while it's true David annoys our listeners to a point, there are some folks who, chat about it whenever he calls and that kind of thing. It is Free Talk Live. I am going to let him call. I am going to let him say things. Now, it depends on my level of tolerance for the day, or like he has better days and worse days himself. He's a human being. Yeah. Right. So it's going to kind of depend on that. If you want to call 603-283-6160 and tell us your thoughts about David, or how you think you can help him, feel free to do so. And to his, I'm not going to defend the guy, but to his credit, he does go above and beyond when it comes to not saying the things you aren't supposed to say. He walks the line, but he does a pretty good job. So.
You know what? I have a piece of advice. If you want to be on the air for longer durations of time, you just have to be interesting.
Be interesting.
Have something cool to talk about. Have something new. Have something fresh. Like, if you get us engaged and we can have a good discussion, we will keep you on the entire segment. If it's still good, but if it's the same stuff, and if you're, like walking that FCC line where we're like, we might have to drop you.
It's true.
Did we get to number? We got to number 4.
We
right?
did.
Are we still on schedule with these?
We
top
are.
12
yes.
bombs? Okay,
number
good.
4 was, it's a moral problem that the government is making into criminals people who may be doing something you and I don't approve of, but are doing something that hurts nobody else. Now, the heart of this is really the non-aggression principle, right? Libertarians, anarchists, voluntarists, whatever you want to call freedom-loving people who are aware of the non-aggression principle. This is where it all starts for them. This is the foundation. And that is, I don't care what you do as long as you're not harming somebody or damaging their property.
Right. It's like the victimless crime.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Number 4, yeah.
Number 4 was that. It is victimless crime, non-aggression principle. He just says it in a different way.
No, he's a smart guy.
Smart guy. He's an economist.
Get him a Nobel Prize or something.
603-283-6160. Hour number 2 of Free Talk Live is coming up next.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. Raging wildfires have ripped through parts of southern Europe and the Mediterranean from France to Morocco to Greece. Thousands of people have been evacuated from their homes and firefighters have been battling soaring temperatures to try and put out the flames. On Sunday, Spain hit more than 40 degrees Celsius. Authorities in Portugal, which at one stage hit a July record of 47 degrees Celsius, say almost 700 mostly elderly people have died in the last week because of the heat. Heat waves increase the risk of heat stroke, among other things, with health experts particularly worried about older people and those with underlying health conditions. In the UK, temperatures are expected to reach 41 degrees in some areas. A June paper in the journal Environmental Research, Climate, found climate change has increased the intensity and likelihood of heat waves, which can be directly linked to tens of thousands of deaths. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has sacked his security chief Ivan Bakhanov as well as the country's prosecutor general. Sergio Olmos has more on this major overhaul from the capital, Kyiv.
The firing of the prosecutor general is significant because Ukraine is at the moment investigating some 23,000 cases of alleged war crimes, coupled with the firing of the head of the SBU. This is Ukraine's internal security service, kind of like their FBI. The head of the SBU is a childhood friend of President Volodymyr Zelensky. The SBU has been coming under criticism since the war began for strategic failures that have led to real setbacks for Ukraine. Many cities, smaller cities like Chernihiv, held out while major strategic cities like Kherson were able to be captured. This has been blamed on failures by the SBU.
A new report into May's mass shooting at a primary school in Uvalde, Texas, which killed 21 people, has found systemic failures in the overall response. The 77-page document was released by the Texas House Committee. The committee's report was delivered to the families of victims before being made public. It blamed Robb Elementary School for failing to adhere to safety protocols. Republican State Representative Dustin Burrows said it became clear to the committee that the school was not prepared for an active shooter situation and that there was a false sense of security surrounding the school.
If there's only one thing that I can tell you is there were multiple systemic failures.
The report is also the first to criticise both federal and state law enforcement and not just local police. It also found there were almost 400 officers from various agencies at the scene of the shooting, but that none of them took clear leadership of the situation. 77 minutes elapsed between the gunman's first shots inside a classroom full of children and the police's intervention in that room. The Texas House Committee didn't come to a conclusion about whether it thought a faster response could have prevented more deaths. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, looking today at the announcement by Microsoft founder Bill Gates that his ambition in life is now no longer to remain on the list of the world's wealthiest people. It's been over a decade now since he first pledged that he would give his riches away, but he's still the world's fourth wealthiest person, and over that decade, his personal fortune has more than doubled. Last week, he announced plans to make a $20 billion donation to his philanthropic fund, and he says the foundation is going to start spending his money more quickly, aiming to give away $9 billion each year by 2026. Stephanie Brobby is a former private wealth lawyer who created the Good Ancestor movement and advises people who, like Bill Gates, want to offload their cash.
They are extremely wealthy people who are concerned about spiraling inequality. They're concerned about the climate emergency that we're in and the fact that we have more food banks than McDonald's in the UK, despite being the fifth most advanced economy in the UK. So the people that I work with are extremely rich, but they feel deeply uncomfortable actually about the level of wealth that they have, about, in some cases, the way that wealth was created.
But she says lots more work needs to be done to encourage others who have been almost as lucky as Bill Gates to follow his path. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
The main headlines again. Raging wildfires have ripped through parts of southern Europe and the Mediterranean from France to Morocco to Greece. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has sacked his security chief and the country's prosecutor general in a major overhaul of his administration. And a new report into May's mass shooting at a primary school in Uvalde, Texas, has found systemic failures in the overall response. And that is the latest from Feature Story News. I'm Jagruti Dave in Washington.
During a curt Skype session earlier this afternoon, local Williamsburg resident, 29-year-old Cormac Flanagan, reminded his mother to, quote, try and be more careful after she forgot to pay his cell phone bill.
Mom, the phone company called today about my cell phone bill.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I completely forgot.
No, Mom, I'm not mad, but you have to stay on top of these things, you know.
I know,
You can't keep waiting until the last minute like this. Well, I don't want to have to keep reminding you every month. You know, I need my phone. I use it every day. I need my phone. I'm constantly using it.
I'm so bad. I'm really sorry. I'll get on it today.
All right, you know, just so you know, this really easy thing you can do. You know, there's this online auto pay. It just deducts from your bank account every month.
Yeah,
quite
yeah.
easy.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
It's fine.
I know how to
It's
do
fine.
it.
It's fine. Just don't let it become a pattern. You know, I know you can do better than this.
Okay. I promise. I'll get on it today. Okay.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
And we're back. All right. That's acceptable. All right. I'll take that. It is Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160 if you want to join the conversation. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the Reverend Captain Kickass,
Steve Classic,
and Nikki.
Kicking off hour number 2 of our nightly 3-hour program. We've been talking about these 12 truth bombs as either said or written or spoken or
sung,
telegraphed by mental telepathy. Telepathy? Yeah, thank you.
Telephony.
That's when you think about calling somebody and they call you. That's mental
Oh.
telephony. Yeah.
Okay.
Is that really a thing?
Now it is.
Is that a captain?
Sure.
thing?
Yes.
Okay,
of course
awesome.
it is.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't it be? We've been kicking each segment off with one of these truth bombs from Milton Friedman, and this is the 5th segment. So number 5. One of the great mistakes is to judge policies and programs by their intentions rather than their results. This one hits home for me because whenever I want to use the word awakened, but that just seems so cliche and trite.
Red-pilled?
Whenever I sort of figured out that I had been brainwashed, when I came out of the fog of statism, I've spent a lifetime in like software and doing telephones, and I took a class in audio engineering. So like signal flow is an important thing to me. And how do you know that you've successfully put together signal flow? Well, by the outcome, right? How do you know in software if the software you designed, if it's doing what it was designed to do? By the outcome. So I've spent a whole lot of time evaluating things based on the outcome, not on the intention, right? I could build a website that I intend to be amazing, and then if I don't put any time or effort into it, or I do it poorly, or I do something other than what the intention was, and I measure it against the results, I have failed. This is true with government.
Right. Well, the thing with government, when a program fails, they say, well, we just didn't spend enough money on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's not big enough.
We
have to expand it.
reform.
Right. We need more.
We need to reform, because when we formed it in the first place, it totally didn't do what we said it was going to do.
But the intention was good.
They intended to do
the
a
results
thing,
weren't.
But they didn't measure the outcome and go, hey, you know what, this failed. We should probably not do this.
No. When it fails, they need more money for it.
And a committee.
A blue ribbon panel.
A larger sub-organization, usually with some acronyms, 2, 3, 4, 5 letters that, all have dots and mean something crazy. This is definitely true about government. One of the things that people think government does is protects you.
Ha.
And there is a whole bunch of information, I believe, over on Hawaii.edu. Some people have put together studies that relate to the word democide, D-E-M-O-C-I-D-E. What is democide, you might ask, and ask you might. That is the measure, if you will, of the outcome of democracies by deaths.
Oh, gosh.
And it turns out that in the 20th century alone, over 262 million people were killed by governments, not including war.
Wow.
So if you take out the dead people from wars in the 20th century, then you have 262 million. With war, it's way higher. Right, obviously. But 262, how many people in the United States?
325, 330, 330, 340.
I thought it was like 295 or something like that.
No, it's above 3, I think 325, 330.
Can we get a verification?
Sure can.
Ask the producer.
Let's go to Vanna White. I mean, Nikki.
Sunshine.
No? Okay. Well, it's a lot anyway.
Yeah, a lot.
Thousands more every day.
292 million is the number that the Democide folks who did the study give. And you can just look that up.
Over 300 million.
300 million. Okay, so close to the entire United States of America wiped out in non-war functions of government.
And usually that happened when the citizens gave up their guns.
Well, we learned from the past that people seldom learn from the past. But yes, what happens when governments say, hey, citizens, give up your guns, and they do? People die, lots of them, hundreds of thousands of them even, at a time, if not more. Every time in history where people gave up guns, a whole bunch of people die. Every time. Look it up. Do your own research. Don't believe a word I say without going and looking it up yourself. But democide is a real thing. And in fact, government as an organization type is the largest murderer ever. It's also the largest rapist. More rapes occur under the supervision of government than anywhere else on planet Earth. We're talking jails, we're talking prison camps, we're talking militaries, we're talking wartime, right? In fact, every heinous crime, like, okay, murder, rape, what else? What other heinous crimes are there?
Torture.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Taxation.
Theft, right?
Yeah.
Theft, extortion, right? Which, we repeat ourselves, but of all the heinous things that human beings do to each other, there is one organization that does most of it.
Yeah, the common thread.
And you can measure it by the outcome.
Democide.
The number of deaths that it causes. And so if you believe that the government of the United States was put together to protect you, to prevent people from dying, to prevent these crimes from being committed against each other, well, you're wrong. The data says so. The outcome says so. You are wrong. In fact, it is the number one perpetrator of these crimes. But it's okay when they do it because they wear uniforms. They have special emblems and
blue.
Shiny badges.
Well, and you know what? A lot of people wouldn't believe you. I'm sure.
I'm certain there's somebody listening to me right now going, this guy's full of crap. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
But what about the criminals?
Look it up. Most criminals who are in prison anyway are there for victimless crimes. Most of them.
Which is also from the article.
Correct. And so if you eliminate violations of bureaucracy, right? Oh, this guy had too much of a plant in his pocket, or, well, he OD'd 5 or 6 times and we didn't know what else to do, so we sent him to jail because he had, he possessed some
because
of this
that makes sense.
Substance, right? Yeah. You're going to ruin your life by using this substance, so instead of you ruining your life, we're going to put you in a prison and ruin your life.
We're going to charge the taxpayers for your accommodations.
Nobody wins in that situation. The taxpayer always loses when it comes to these things. And when you do discover a government agency, police or politicians or anybody that's being paid by your extortion money, tax, when you discover them doing something wrong and you sue whatever entity of government did the wrong, and you win. Right. First of all, it's not often that you would win against the government because you're going up against the behemoth and you're basically, a guy with a slingshot.
Right.
But when you do win, the taxpayer loses every time. Let's say there's a settlement. You win, right? You were wronged by the IRS. They said you're whatever, and you're like, you didn't know, and you proved it, and they're like, yeah, you win.
Here's somebody else's money.
and you sue them, and you win like a $50,000 settlement. They first take that money from somebody else before they give it to you. They don't take it from the people who did the actual wrong, right? Police, the same thing, like police brutality, stuff like that. The families of anybody that like has been killed by a police officer, when they sue whatever police department it is that killed their family member and they win,
it's taxpayer money.
It doesn't come out of the policeman's paycheck. It comes from the taxpayers.
Right.
The taxpayers always lose every time. Anyway, measure by the outcome, and you will see things very differently. I agree with Mr. Friedman. 603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live is on the way.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
When Monster Hunter International discovers one of Isaac Newton's wardstones being auctioned off, they decide to steal it and use it to destroy the Chaos God once and for all. But a mysterious thief upends their plan, and it soon becomes a race against time as something much older and infinitely more evil awakens in the jungles of South America. Monster Hunter Bloodlines by New York Times bestselling author Larry Correia and Baen Books. Visit monsterhunternation.com for more.
I'm crazy about My Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without My Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
And we're back.
It works.
Maybe next time we'll try harmonies. I'll do "and we're back."
And we're back.
And we're back.
All right. Maybe we shouldn't try that.
We just did.
Oh, wait, I thought we were practicing.
Oh, are we live?
We're live.
Oh, I
We're
pressed the
live.
buttons
We're
already.
live.
Oh, yeah, I heard the music. This is Free Talk Live, in case you're wondering what you're listening to. We're a live radio call and talk program where you can call in, talk about whatever's on your mind. We'll get to your calls in just a minute. We have been talking about these 12 truth bombs from Milton Friedman, who is a Nobel Prize-winning economist. And he, the Keynesian economists are sort of the statist economists, right? They believe that, the state...
Official
has to do-
government,
yeah. But contrary to what economists would have you believe, economics is pretty easy. It is supply and demand, and that's it. That's all economics is.
Right.
That's it. If there's too much competition in your industry, either innovate or get out. Right? Those are like sort of the rules of economics.
Right, but these truth bombs they're economics, but they're also life truths.
Life
as
truths, freedom truths.
Yeah.
Right. They are truth bombs in several different ways. So while he was an economist, not all of his wisdom is specific to economics.
Right. Supply and demand.
Right. Before we go on, though, do you really want liberty in your lifetime?
Yes.
I know I do.
Yeah.
Later this year, Free Talk Live's own Mark Edge is speaking at Free Cities Foundation's annual conference, Liberty in Our Lifetime. And he'll be in the beautiful city of Prague, October 21st through the 23rd. And this showcases autonomous cities and intentional communities that are springing up around the world, offering opportunities for settlers to live freer lives. The conference theme is Parallel Structures for Progress, and they'll be exploring physical developments and parallel structures emerging in education and finance that offer alternatives for people looking for better ways to learn and educate their own children, as well as invest in their future. Free Private Cities is offering all Free Talk Live listeners a very special 20% discount on tickets. And you can claim this when checking out on the Eventbrite with the promo code FTL20, as in Free Talk Live, FTL20. To find out more about the conference, visit lifetimeliberty.com and follow the conference on Twitter using the handle @LibertyIOL. Make sure you get your tickets soon to take advantage of the early bird discount. If you'd like to buy your ticket in Bitcoin, you can drop them a Twitter DM for instructions. Again, lifetimeliberty.com. Use the code FTL20 for a 20% discount, and it's going to be in Prague, October 21st through the 23rd. All right, so we've been doing one of these truth bombs. There's 12 of them, one per segment. That should get us to 12 as long as we adhere to the schedule. I don't know why I said schedule, because most people say schedule unless you're from, like, Britain.
Canada.
No, it's like saying Target.
No, people in Britain. I'm not going to call it Great Britain because there's nothing great about it. I'm just going to call it Britain, or I'm going to call it regular Britain. They say schedule.
And aluminium.
They do, yeah. That's true.
I love that.
Number 5? No, 6. Number 6. You must distinguish sharply between being pro-free enterprise and being pro-business.
Please elaborate.
The elaborator is kicking in. You must distinguish sharply between being pro-free enterprise and being pro-business. So, I am pro-free markets, and I believe that's what he's referring to when he says pro-free enterprise. I believe that if you think that you can do as good or a better job than somebody else doing something else, that you should be able to just go, hey, I'm a business. Here's my card or whatever. Maybe you develop some things to help you or whatever. But you shouldn't need to go get a license. If you want to do whatever business you're about to do out of your own home, you should be allowed to do so. You shouldn't need a health inspector to come in. You shouldn't have to install a whole bunch of commercial equipment just to get started, right? Spending millions of dollars on things like insurance and all of this kind of thing just to get started. You don't have to go apply for a business loan just to get started. You just get started, right?
Right.
Let's say, Steve, you make awesome chocolate chip cookies.
Oh.
Right?
Too bad I can't eat them.
You decide that I'm just going to make a bunch of these. I'm going to package them up and I'm going to sell them, right? And so you start doing it. You do it out of your home kitchen, right? You're violating all sorts of laws immediately.
It's not inspected by the city,
right? You haven't done it in a.
I don't have a sales and use certificate,
right? And you haven't done it in a commercial kitchen, so you can't actually sell your products for retail, right?
It's not individually packaged.
Whereas being pro-business, my interpretation of his quote here is that you are for all of the hoops that you need to jump through and following the government
I would
regulations.
think the opposite.
Really?
Because I would think making people jump through a bunch of hoops and get inspected and have a license and get a permit, to me, that's anti-business. Because you're actually, all those things harm the business.
It's anti-free enterprise.
It's definitely anti-free market or anti-free enterprise.
Right. More so than being anti-business.
So I'm wondering, what does it mean to be pro-business? Because I think my definition of pro-business might be different.
I believe it is. That's why I'm distinguishing between free enterprise, the free market. I'm for all of that. I'm not pro-business. I'm not a person who extols the virtues of crony capitalism. Right, which is the fascism that we have today. And that's what most people think of when they think of business, is they think of what we have already today.
Yeah, like pro-corporatism.
We could talk more about that, but let's pick up a call from Robert in South Carolina. Robert, you're on Free Talk Live.
Okay, hi. I just wanted to say that with regard to what you were saying before, that the government kills a lot of people.
Yeah.
Governments do. In Germany, actually, Germany recognized that a long, long time ago. And the laws are written in Germany so that if you are a government official and you're convicted of a crime that would normally be 3 years imprisonment for a person who doesn't work, a private citizen, if you're a police officer, let's say, and you do the exact same crime, you'll get 5 years for that crime because you're expected to maintain a much higher much higher standard of excellence because of the fact that you've been given a special authority and to do a job that the people have entrusted you with. And if you fail to do that job, you're therefore subject to more penalization than if you were just a regular citizen committing the same crime.
That would make sense because they're supposed to be the law enforcement, right? And what we see in the U.S. is police officers committing more crimes than the so-called criminals, and they get off scot-free.
Yes. And Germany also has laws to protect children and animals and people who are less than competent. It's people who are besonders schutzbedürftig. In other words, especially in need of protection, legal protection. And one thing Germans hate in general is they hate when somebody is taken advantage of because of their weaknesses like that.
Hey, thanks for the call. We appreciate it. I, of course, amongst other people, can't forget the millions and millions of people who lost their lives due to Nazis. 603-283-6160. You can go look up Germany democide online and see the results for yourselves.
Do you know the difference between erudite and pedantic? If you do, you're probably pedantic. But seriously, a surprising number of erudite people mispronounce erudite, which has 3 syllables, not 4. Say erudite, not erudite. Because you are judged by how you speak, you want to avoid common misstatements, especially if you're a job seeker. For instance, do you know the difference between imply and infer? Only a speaker can imply. only a listener can infer. And when you say you'll be out of pocket, do you mean out of touch? Out of pocket means you're on your own dime, not yet reimbursed. And if anyone ever asks, why do you always answer a question with a question? You should reply, do I do that? Just kidding. From survivalspeech.com, I'm Holland Cook.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. Raging wildfires have ripped through parts of southern Europe and the Mediterranean, from France to Morocco to Greece. Thousands of people have been evacuated from their homes, and firefighters have been battling soaring temperatures to try and put out the flames. On Sunday, Spain hit more than 40 degrees Celsius. Authorities in Portugal, which at one stage hit a July record of 47 degrees Celsius, say almost 700 mostly elderly people have died in the last week because of the heat. Heat waves increase the risk of heat stroke, among other things, with health experts particularly worried about older people and those with underlying health conditions. In the UK, temperatures are expected to reach 41 degrees in some areas. A June paper in the journal Environmental Research, Climate, found climate change has increased the intensity and likelihood of heat waves, which can be directly linked to tens of thousands of deaths. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has sacked his security chief Ivan Bakhanov, as well as the country's prosecutor general. Sergio Olmos has more on this major overhaul from the capital, Kyiv.
The firing of the prosecutor general is significant because Ukraine is at the moment investigating some 23,000 cases of alleged war crimes, coupled with the firing of the head of the SBU. This is Ukraine's internal security service, kind of like their FBI. The head of the SBU is a childhood friend of President Volodymyr Zelensky. The SBU has been coming under criticism since the war began for strategic failures that have led to real setbacks for Ukraine. Many cities, smaller cities like Chernihiv, held out while major strategic cities like Kherson were able to be captured. This has been blamed on failures by the SBU.
A new report into May's mass shooting at a primary school in Uvalde, Texas, which killed 21 people, has found systemic failures in the overall response. The 77-page document was released by the Texas House Committee. The committee's report was delivered to the families of victims before being made public. It blamed Robb Elementary School for failing to adhere to safety protocols. Republican State Representative Dustin Burrows said it became clear to the committee that the school was not prepared for an active shooter situation and that there was a false sense of security surrounding the school.
If there's only one thing that I can tell you is there were multiple systemic failures.
The report is also the first to criticise both federal and state law enforcement and not just local police. It also found there were almost 400 officers from various agencies at the scene of the shooting, but that none of them took clear leadership of the situation. 77 minutes elapsed between the gunman's first shots inside a classroom full of children and the police's intervention in that room. The Texas House Committee didn't come to a conclusion about whether it thought a faster response could have prevented more deaths. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com.
That's right, we're back. It is Free Talk Live. The telephone number is 603-283-6160. Oh, I see we have some calls coming in now. We'll get to those momentarily. In the studio, it is myself, the captain.
Steve Classic.
And Nikki.
And, well, let's just go to those. Caller number one, I believe Jerome from, where are you from, Jerome? South Carolina?
Yeah.
You're on the air.
I'm from Murdaugh country. You ever heard that guy, Alex Murdaugh? You need to look that story up. But I got a good story for you, even better one than that.
Jerome, tell me a story.
Yeah, okay. There's this guy from Indiana. His name's Andrew Wilhoit. He's in jail. He's accused of murdering his wife. He won a GOP primary, and he's going to be on the ballot, in November, if he's not convicted of her murder.
What?
This is the type of person that is attracted to politics, right? Everybody wonders why there's nothing but douchebags in politics. It's because real, proper, and good people are not attracted to these positions.
Look, she found out he was having an affair. She was going to cancer treatment. You know, and I guess she had her last cancer treatment, and she found out that he was having an affair on him. So she decided she was going to file for divorce. Not so fast. He's accused of murdering her, and he's running for office in Indiana. I didn't look at what he was running for, but he won the GOP primary. You know, the GOP, the Republican Party, the GOP primary, and he's going to be on the ballot in November if he's not convicted of her murder.
Well, that just means he's qualified for the job. Right? I mean, all these politicians, at least the ones that make it to like things like president, they're all murderers by proxy anyway. They might not pull the trigger themselves, but they're all guilty of, what do you call it? Accessory to murder, right? They're the, what do you call it? The something in chief of the military, right? They're all
Do you know how much fun Fox would have telling that story? All these right-wing conservatives. How much fun they would have telling a story like that? If that was especially if it was a black Democrat that was involved in something like that. You know how much fun they'd have doing a story like that, huh?
Well, fortunately for you, none of us here pay attention to Fox News.
Well, no, it's not fortunate for me, but I'm just saying.
Wait, do you watch Fox News, Jerome?
A Republican. You know, it's just like when Trump said he can shoot somebody. He wouldn't lose any support, or he likes to grab women. And
Obama threatened his daughter's boyfriend. Obama threatened his daughter's boyfriend with a Predator drone.
You compare something like that to him saying them kind of things and what I just told you about this guy?
No, I'm just telling you, Jerome, that you are a classic example of a guy who only recognizes one wing of the bird. Right? You want to think that the GOP and the Republicans are horrible people. And to some extent, you are correct. But the Democrats are also horrible people, and they do horrible things. They're two wings of the same bird. But you, sir, will only recognize one wing as being horrible, and you are part of the problem because of that.
When have you ever seen Democrats storm the Capitol armed with weapons, saying, hang the vice president, hang him. And Trump saying, well, maybe that's not such a bad idea.
I mean, leftists regularly riot in the streets, and they were burning down buildings and throwing Molotov cocktails and stuff.
Well, look, because of what?
So one thing was basically a glorified tour, and the other one was like burning buildings in the streets.
You ever seen a video of the civil rights struggle?
Of course.
Huh? All right. It's still going on.
Yes.
There's a struggle for equality still going on in this country. Did you see what happened in Buffalo? A guy drove how many miles he drove?
And the struggle is continually being stoked by people who don't recognize that there are two wings to the bird.
Like me, right? You don't.
I didn't say it. You did.
You didn't see all these conservative talk shows all over. I heard people.
I don't watch conservative talk shows. Do you?
Look.
Do you watch Do you listen to conservative talk shows?
Choice. That's all they have here in Charleston. I have no choice.
Well, then perhaps you should think about moving where you have more choice.
Well,
wouldn't more freedom be beneficial to you?
No, I came back to Charleston because I wanted to be close to my mother. Okay.
I got you. Yeah.
So
we love your mom too, Jerome.
This is my home. My mom passed away about a year ago. This is my hometown. This is where I grew up. This is really all I know. So, hey, look, look, that's just the way it is, man. You know, home is where the heart is. Remember that? You ever heard that saying?
I think you should turn off your television and try to enjoy your life more, is what I think. Because I think television is preventing you from enjoying your life to its fullest extent. Thanks for the call, Jerome. I really do. Like, I like Jerome. He's, I think he's trying to be a decent person, right? But
he's got to go on a television detox, maybe.
He's stuck watching the preferred, programming of his choice that prevents him from seeing the reality of the fact that it's government that's poisoning everybody. He wants to talk about the racial struggle. Yes, it is still happening, and it's stoked by people in government, by your legislators. They love to rile you up and get the pitchfork people to rally about and cry about the people with the torches, and get the torch people to rally and cry about the people with the pitchforks. All the while, they're taking more of your money. They're preventing you from being as successful as you can be. They're reducing your freedoms by the day. They are devaluing the money that you're paid in and taxed on and you use every day. But you want to sit there and complain about, the pitchfork people are hurting the torch people. The pitchfork people and the torch people need to get together and tell this organization that they've had enough.
Well, and you know what's ridiculous? People always talk about conservatives being racist, which there are definitely some very racist conservatives, but there are also a lot of very racist liberals and Democrats.
Yes, there are.
Jill Biden just said some nonsense racist about Mexican people. I don't even really care enough to know the actual quote, but something along the lines of calling them a taco or a breakfast burrito, just some nonsense. Right. And liberals are constantly trying to act like black people and other minorities aren't smart enough or aren't able enough to get IDs and, all of these things. Joe Biden literally said that black people don't know how to use computers.
Yeah. And I'd like to point out that when Obama did get elected, and was president, that people were all, like the Democrats especially, were like, it's about time we had a black man for president.
He was elected twice.
He was elected twice, right? And so then, Trump gets elected, right? And the Democrats respond by, because they used to say when Obama was running for his first election, they're like, we're so tired of these old white men
running
telling us what to do, how to do it, how we treat ourselves and others. We're tired of that. And so Obama got elected, and then Trump gets elected in the next cycle because they seem to switch between Democrats and Republicans about every cycle or so.
Yeah.
And then so Trump goes out, and what happens? They elect an old white man, a senile old white man who has somewhere around a 30% approval rating. The lowest in the history of the presidency. Now, how is that even possible?
Because none of it's real.
Because you got the bluebirds and the redbirds bickering about each other instead of looking at the actual problem. The problem is the chair, the seat, the throne, if you will. Just because you put a different guy on the throne every 4 years doesn't mean you're not living under the rule of a heinous kingdom.
Well, maybe it's their job to confuse the American people.
It's working.
Like, hey, we're going to work together to confuse everybody, get everybody fighting while they just sit back.
Again, evaluate the system by the outcome, by the results. And if you observe correctly that these are the results, and you are absolutely 100% spot on that they are causing this. It is intentional. It's so that they can maintain their power instead of letting you have all of your power back to the individual. 603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live is next.
Free Talk Live.
And I still swore to the Commander-in-Chief.
What oath is higher to you?
I'm not going to stand up and go AWOL because, I don't believe.
Well, wait, nobody said you had to go AWOL. Did you swear 2 oaths, one to the Commander-in-Chief and then one to the Constitution?
You swear one to the Constitution as your Commander-in-Chief as your executive order.
Which part of the oath is the priority? Is it upholding the Constitution? Well, so whatever the Commander-in-Chief says is what goes.
That sounds like a cult of personality to me.
It doesn't matter if it's unconstitutional.
This is a nation of laws, supposedly, I was told, and since the Constitution's the highest law in the land, if the Commander-in-Chief violates that piece of paper, then you should, as a person who swore an oath to that Constitution, go in there and arrest him.
Okay, well, you're making sense.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
Hey, you are going to love the movie Victimless Crime Spree. It's hilarious, heartwarming, and carries a ton of inspiring freedom messages. Feeling down about the lack of liberty in your life? You need to put on this film with some friends and have a good laugh. It's a true story about me and my friends in New Hampshire living free, singing, dancing, and getting arrested. Of course, it's all on video, and the bad guys, the cops, judges, bailiffs, and sheriffs, they all play their part like it's out of a movie or something. You would think we scripted the whole thing, but it's real life. Go ahead and have a watch, and if it's been a while, have another look. I guarantee you'll notice things now that you didn't notice before. And the best part is that you're going to walk away feeling a renewed sense of your own power. You are the master of your destiny, and you will be free in your lifetime. Victimless Crime Spree.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
And we're back.
Sorry, I missed the memo on that one.
I thought maybe your timing was poor. Okay.
That too.
Sometimes improv,
I'm just enjoying the sound of the song. I'm a listener.
This is Free Talk Live.
Got some catching up to do.
As pointed out by our producers and also our co-hosts, we neglected to read one of the 12 things last segment and went straight to the calls. And then, of course, I went on a rant, and then we had a discussion. And next thing you know, it's the next segment.
We're off the rails.
So we're going to have to double up here. So bear with me, listeners.
Listen quickly.
Listen quickly. Yes. Hurry up and listen.
Yeah.
Number 7, the society that puts equality before freedom will end up with neither. The society that puts freedom before equality will end up with a great measure of both. And this actually speaks very well to Jerome, I think, because if you put equality before freedom, you get neither. If you put freedom before equality, you end up with a great deal of both.
Well, equality has been changed to equity.
What, like banking?
No, not private equity.
Like a home loan?
No, the whole equity thing, the whole equity. It's not equality anymore. It's equity. They're giving stuff away.
You've been wronged, so we have to treat you extra special and give you all of these things. And
so there's no liberty. There's no
exactly.
freedom in equity.
Okay. So for those of you wondering, what are these 12 things? These are 12 truth bombs from Nobel Prize winning economist Milton Friedman. And so that was number 7. Number 8, governments never learn, only people learn. I can't agree with this one more. Organization, particularly one that has only one tool by which they accomplish anything, and that's either violence itself or the threat of caging and violence. I mean, caging is a violent act, so
force.
That's the only tool at its disposal. That's all this organization known as government does. That's it. They only have one tool. And so if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And so they smash everything with it because they don't know. There's no incentive for them to do anything else. Everybody just goes along with it. And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, well, they have to.
I guess they're going to extort me because otherwise they're going to send armed men to send me in a cage. And if I resist, they're going to shoot me.
Right.
So
don't pay that parking ticket. You'll see what happens.
Governments never learn. Only people learn. Let's go to some of your calls and thoughts. Let's go to Gigi in South Carolina. Gigi, you're on Free Talk Live.
Good evening, everybody. I would like to make 2 comments and then a question for our audience listening across the nation. My first comment, I so appreciate Nikki's comment about encouraging Mr. Olson from Albuquerque to contribute in a more positive fashion. I think it would be so wonderful. And I thank Nikki for her positive feedback to Mr. Olson. Secondly, as an academician most of my life, I love, Captain, that you are focusing on Milton Friedman and his economic principles. Bravo to both of you.
Thank you, Gigi.
Yes, thank you, Gigi. We call Nikki Sunshine for a reason. She just has that effect.
I try.
Well,
I'm feeling a little left out here.
My question, I'm sorry, Stephen. My question.
Is that my mom calling?
Oh, no, it's Gigi. But I do sound like a Jewish mother. I am Jewish.
To Mr. Steve Classic's credit, he is wearing the Bitcoin Freedom T-shirt today.
That is an awesome shirt.
For those who can't see it, the O in Freedom is the Bitcoin.
My question for the audience as a current event, I would like to know, how do my fellow listeners on our program tonight feel about the new 988 phone program nationwide regarding mental health and suicide?
And are you asking just the listeners, or do you want us to also opine?
Oh, I would love listener input as well as the panel's opinion. Everybody's opinion counts. Like you always say, Captain, we are an open format. No matter how we feel about somebody, they have a right to call and voice.
I'm a huge proponent of free speech.
So
this is, your question is about the National Suicide Prevention Hotline?
Yeah, how do we all feel about that now? The new 988 number implemented nationwide. Will it be something positive? Will it contribute to positive mental health changes that we desperately could benefit from as a community at large? Or will it just be baloney?
I hope for A, but B is more likely, particularly if it is funded by taxation and run by bureaucrats.
Good point.
If it is just, if the government is just going, hey, we're going to, instead of having a toll-free number that somebody has to pay by the minute, right, for, and not the users, of course, when you call a toll-free number, it's free to you, but somebody on the other end is paying a per-minute fee for that toll-free number. If it's just the government going, hey, we don't want that, and, here's a gift of the 988 number, we'll put that as a speed dial for everybody, essentially speaking, that now you can connect to people who, are doing charity work or activism work. That, to me, would be the winning combination. But I suspect that is not the case. I suspect this is the state trying to bureaucratize the suicide hotline. They seem to want to be up in everybody's business and track your entire life from cradle to grave, from the time you're born until the time you die, with all of the tracking they're doing of all of our data on cell phones and social media and all of that kind of thing.
The Social Security number for taxes.
Exactly. And so this is just another way for, in my mind, for governments to track people's behavior. Now they're going to know, oh, Bill Smith over here was suicidal 10 years ago. We have the phone record of it over here. Would you like to hear the call?
Yeah,
we'll
that's
replay
not,
it for
that's
you
not
right
good
now.
for his social credit score now, is it?
Right. So I'm going to reserve my opinion. I'm more afraid of it right now than I am a fan of it.
I think it's a great idea. If it would be better if it wasn't run and funded by the government, aka theft. But I think it's a great idea to just have a suicide prevention hotline, because unfortunately a lot of people that are depressed and are contemplating suicide probably aren't going to reach out to help, especially not to strangers. But for the people who are needing somebody and they don't have anybody in their life to talk to, and they just need to reach out to someone, and just if this could help even a few people, I think it's an awesome and beautiful thing. And I think it's going to do more good than harm, in my opinion. I think it would be better if it was run by some sort of charity or private organization. That would be even better.
I do want to be clear that something like this already exists. There are several suicide prevention hotlines. One of them is actually called the National Suicide Prevention Hotline.
I was assuming that was this.
And so
is this just a speed dial for that number?
I don't.
That's what I thought.
I haven't looked into it, so I don't know what the case is. I would feel much better about it if it's just the government going, hey, let's make it a 3-digit dial to reach this particular organization. I'd be okay with that. I'd also be okay with other organizations sort of sharing the load when people do call, or it's during the holidays generally is when a lot of these hotlines sort of get busy, so, this center is full up and they're all on calls. Let's engage this other charity center over here doing that. That to me is a far more positive thing.
So that's what it is. It's just a new speed dial shortcut for the old number that they had. But the old number still works, but this is just the new number that you can use as well, which is great because it's easier to remember if you're like, I need help, right now I'm having these intrusive thoughts and I just need somebody to talk to. 988 is a lot easier to remember than the original suicide.
What's behind the number, though, 988? Is it easy to remember? Like, why don't you call 911 and they'll say, "Oh, hold on, we'll patch you through."
You don't want to call 911. People calling 911. And also,
what about 912? I mean, they could.
Well, they're going to send cops to your house if you call 911. So definitely, if you're suicidal, do not call 911.
I have some experience with telephone numbers, and it's very, very bad to have a number that's only one digit different from a very busy number. Right, it's very, very bad because people will fat finger all the time. And
912,
in fact, when people put PBX phone systems in their businesses, these multi-line systems where people have extension numbers instead of full 10-digit numbers. Right. One of the fundamental rules that gets broken. Hey, Gigi, thank you for the call. We appreciate you. One of the fundamental rules that gets broken all the time is somebody will assign extension 911 to a person at a desk.
Oh, no.
And so, you maybe don't know, and you hit Bob's name on the menu, and it calls 911. Then you start getting assessed fees. The man comes, and all sorts of bad things happen. 603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live is coming up.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. Raging wildfires have ripped through parts of southern Europe and the Mediterranean from France to Morocco to Greece. Thousands of people have been evacuated from their homes and firefighters have been battling soaring temperatures to try and put out the flames. On Sunday, Spain hit more than 40 degrees Celsius. Authorities in Portugal, which at one stage hit a July record of 47 degrees Celsius, say almost 700 mostly elderly people have died in the last week because of the heat. Heat waves increase the risk of heat stroke, among other things, with health experts particularly worried about older people and those with underlying health conditions. In the UK, temperatures are expected to reach 41 degrees in some areas. A June paper in the journal Environmental Research, Climate, found climate change has increased the intensity and likelihood of heat waves, which can be directly linked to tens of thousands of deaths. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has sacked his security chief Ivan Bakhanov, as well as the country's prosecutor general. Sergio Olmos has more on this major overhaul from the capital, Kyiv.
The firing of the prosecutor general is significant because Ukraine is at the moment investigating some 23,000 cases of alleged war crimes, coupled with the firing of the head of the SBU. This is Ukraine's internal security service, kind of like their FBI. The head of the SBU is a childhood friend of President Volodymyr Zelensky. The SBU has been coming under criticism since the war began for strategic failures that have led to real setbacks for Ukraine. Many cities, smaller cities like Chernihiv, held out while major strategic cities like Kherson were able to be captured. This has been blamed on failures by the SBU.
A new report into May's mass shooting at a primary school in Uvalde, Texas, which killed 21 people, has found systemic failures in the overall response. The 77-page document was released by the Texas House Committee. The committee's report was delivered to the families of victims before being made public. It blamed Robb Elementary School for failing to adhere to safety protocols. Republican State Representative Dustin Burrows said it became clear to the committee that the school was not prepared for an active shooter situation and that there was a false sense of security surrounding the school.
If there's only one thing that I can tell you is there were multiple systemic failures.
The report is also the first to criticise both federal and state law enforcement and not just local police. It also found there were almost 400 officers from various agencies at the scene of the shooting, but that none of them took clear leadership of the situation. 77 minutes elapsed between the gunman's first shots inside a classroom full of children and the police's intervention in that room. The Texas House Committee didn't come to a conclusion about whether it thought a faster response could have prevented more deaths. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, looking today at the announcement by Microsoft founder Bill Gates that his ambition in life is now no longer to remain on the list of the world's wealthiest people. It's been over a decade now since he first pledged that he would give his riches away, but he's still the world's fourth wealthiest person, and over that decade, his personal fortune has more than doubled. Last week, he announced plans to make a $20 billion donation to his philanthropic fund, and he says the foundation is going to start spending his money more quickly, aiming to give away $9 billion each year by 2026. Stephanie Brobby is a former private wealth lawyer who created the Good Ancestor movement and advises people who, like Bill Gates, want to offload their cash.
They are extremely wealthy people who are concerned about spiraling inequality. They're concerned about the climate emergency that we're in and the fact that we have more food banks than McDonald's in the UK, despite being the fifth most advanced economy in the UK. So the people that I work with are extremely rich, but they feel deeply uncomfortable actually about the level of wealth that they have, about, in some cases, the way that wealth was created.
But she says lots more work needs to be done to encourage others who have been almost as lucky as Bill Gates to follow his path. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
The main headlines again. Raging wildfires have ripped through parts of southern Europe and the Mediterranean, from France to Morocco to Greece. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has sacked his security chief and the country's prosecutor general in a major overhaul of his administration. And a new report into May's mass shooting at a primary school in Uvalde, Texas, has found systemic failures in the overall response. And that is the latest from Feature Story News. I'm Jagruti Dave in Washington.
In addition to creating a Twitter account, Pope Benedict XVI plans to further connect with Christian youth by giving up on Catholicism. Quote, in order to really relate to modern teens, he needs to make religion a much smaller part of his busy life, just like they do. And it's already working. Tweets like, can someone go to church for me, LOL, hashtag sleeping in, have been retweeted over 1 million times by lazy Catholic teens, while tweets like, if God was real, how come there's so much murder, and I'm still Catholic, I just don't go to church or believe in Jesus, have been especially successful with college students who are questioning the church's teaching.
It's really cool to see that the Pope is as active on social media and as skeptical about God as I am. Look, he just tweeted, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. That's totally how I feel.
Pope Benedict's aides say his next project involves reaching out to Muslims by sitting down with Islamic leaders and proclaiming his undying allegiance to Allah.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
And we're back. I think we're getting worse. I'm not sure if that's good or bad. Sometimes people love a train wreck.
How about we could have someone call in. We can put the caller on. Do the and we're back. How about that?
No,
that sounds risky.
Too experimental.
Yeah.
Okay,
a little too avant-garde. Yes. A little prog. 603-283-6160. That's the telephone number here at the studio for tonight's edition of Free Talk Live. In the studio, it's myself, the captain,
Steve Classic,
and Nikki.
So we've been going through these 12 truth bombs of Milton Friedman, trying to do one per segment. I already screwed up once, but now we're caught up. So let's go ahead with number 10. Milton Friedman says, the great virtue of a free market system is that it does not care what color people are. It does not care what their religion is. It only cares whether they can produce something you want to buy. It is the most effective system we have discovered to enable people who hate one another to deal with one another and help one another.
Wow, that's like number one.
Well, so it's not quite the longest one. There's a longer one coming up. Stay tuned for that one. But I mean, this is true. Again, it reminds me of what we talked about in the previous segment, I think last hour. And that is that for the first time, people can amass wealth by serving each other.
Right.
Instead of fighting each other, killing each other, and stealing from each other.
Taking their land.
With
right?
the exception of governments.
Well, and for a long time, people were just born into wealth. If you were, if you were a peasant, you would always be a peasant, and you could never rise above being a peasant.
Right.
But in the free market, if you can produce a good or a service that people want, you don't have to be a peasant anymore.
Right. Doesn't matter what color you are or your class, your status, whatever. You can rise. People have risen and fallen in classes.
And entrepreneurs are familiar with this.
Yeah.
They build a business, and oftentimes it takes multiple attempts before they even succeed at one, much less multiple businesses. And so if you've ever tried to put together a business of your own, you know what I'm talking about. I have tried and failed multiple times.
Same.
And so, it takes some doing. It takes a lot of...
I'm doing that right now.
Chutzpah, I think is the word. It takes gumption, a little bit of luck, and a whole lot of hours. Way more hours than you got to put in for a Joe job.
I think when I started my business, I think maybe at the 10th year, I thought, all right, well, I'm going to figure out how much I make per hour because I don't charge. I don't have a salary.
$2.07 per hour.
And that's what I feel like right now.
You look at your bottom line at the end of the year and you figure out how many hours you've worked and how many hours you've worked past when you're working. You make about $2 an hour.
Yeah.
Well, in my business, but Elon Musk, I'm sure, makes a little bit more.
Well, if you're doing what you love, it's
right.
Not that big of a
but
deal.
The amount of hours that you don't get paid, and you don't get paid vacations and paid days off and paid weekends or whatever.
And oftentimes you have to take whatever money it is that you get and put it right back into the business.
Yep. Well, I think investing in yourself is the best investment.
Of course.
For your business.
Let's go to some of your calls and thoughts. We've got Lee calling from Planet Earth. Lee, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hello, everybody. Hey, I like your platform. I like the way that you do that, Captain. And regarding, call in and, sometimes it may be challenging. I get that with some of us, and I might be one of them, but hopefully not. But, I haven't heard from the guy from Florida with the GPS in a while. He might have called when I wasn't listening, but, him calling is kind of inspiring to me that he has a place to call, similar to Dave. Dave, he knows his case of life. And for me, it's hard to follow him because he goes through a lot of stuff really fast, and I just can't seem to catch it all. That's for sure.
There are people who I know listen to the archive version of our show, which you can find over at freetalklive.com. There are ways that you can download a whole episode, and you can slow it down. Sometimes there are people who do it. There's people who listen to us, believe it or not, at 2 times the speed. So that
they're listening quickly.
They're listening quickly so that they can get through the show in a shorter period of time. So there are ways to do that, but go on.
Yeah, following you guys, I can do that. Dave is a little bit, I'd have to slow him down just because he's so quick. One of the things though with Gigi, she had brought up the 988 number, and I was hoping she was going to address the 988 herself, just to see how she felt about it. She didn't elaborate herself how she felt about the 988.
Good point.
I think she wanted the listeners to call in on that, right?
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on it?
That's true. I have to go with Nikki. If it was charity led, and you brought that up too, Captain. If it was charity-led, I think I'd lean towards it more than government. They just screw it up. That's just what that's
no.
Yeah, well, what?
Yeah, they would
government screw it up? No, that's not possible.
Yeah, but Nikki, you brought that up, though. There was charity would be kind of good, too. And I was wondering if you guys ever thought about, the loose left-wingers. Have you ever heard of them running some charity event? Some of the the right wingers, they tend to think that they're good at it, but the loose left wingers, I haven't seen them do any kind of charity stuff like that. You think they'd be able to handle that type of?
What is a loose left winger?
I think it's like your progressive Democrat, that kind of loose left wingers.
Democrat charity.
I've never heard the adjective loose used for left wingers.
I think if they were to call up a charity in the left, I guess I would call it the progressive left. Loose left wingers is the other way of saying it. But
is that
like a screw loose?
Or is that like the same when people talk about the extreme right wing? Right?
Yeah,
not the right, extreme.
Yeah,
the loose left wing. Okay, so
yeah. So
I don't know. You guys.
Could you imagine them calling up the 988 number, needing help, right? And talk to a loose left winger and say, "You never voted for us anyhow."
Yeah, the whole 988 thing is. I'm going to have to look into it more because I would like to speak about it intelligently the next time I do, rather than just taking shots in the dark. I have some experience with telephony, so I kind of know how call routing works and how load balancing works and that kind of a thing. But I don't know enough about the National Toll-Free Suicide Hotline, or whatever the official name of the organization is, to speak about it. Regarding charities in general, there are many ways for charities to form. There can be a nonprofit organization, of course, or they can be a straight-up charity.
NGO.
An NGO, yeah, non-government organization.
Yeah.
They can even be decentralized now thanks to things like cryptocurrency, the blockchain, and tokens, where it can be a headless organization, right? Where just a whole bunch of people are like, hey, let's try and make poor people not poor anymore. And they can get together and try and, pool a bunch of money and figure out how to, allocate those resources to the poor, whatever that means to them and their organization. So there's a lot of options out there. And I'm afraid that it's going to be another government-dominated monopoly, right? Well, we've got the number now. Right, 988 is ours. So
we're unionizing
it. Yeah, that's kind of my fear about it. So. Anything else on your mind, Lee?
No, nothing else, but thank you.
Thanks for the call.
To share. Appreciate it. All right.
Have a good night. All right. Let's move right along, and let's go to Sarah in New Mexico. Sarah, you're on Free Talk Live. Sarah in New Mexico. Sarah going once.
Oh, come on, Sarah.
Are you on mute? Sarah going twice.
She'll call back.
All right.
We tried.
I'm just going to put that call on hold. If she calls back, she does. Let's go to Major Payne in Michigan. Major, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, Captain. I told you I was going to need some time to tell you this yarn.
Well, let's get started and see how it goes.
All right. Well, we'll start with the Vikings and the English. Okay. In about 1358, somewhere around there, the Vikings discovered what's called a waterboard.
All right. Well, hold on to that thought. The Vikings waterboard. Hold on to that thought.
Everybody, it's a good cliffhanger.
Everybody hold on to that thought. The Vikings and waterboarding. The English Vikings? Wait,
I think
Minnesota
so.
Vikings.
I think it was English.
Not the Minnesota Vikings. Maybe one day they'll get a professional football team. Oh, snap. 603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live coming up. Something about Vikings.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
After a devastating war, the alien visitors were driven back, and their willing human collaborators were left behind to face the music. When Emma Jean Anderson's ex-lover springs her from prison, Nathan Foster and his 14-year-old nephew Ben are tasked with bringing the pair to justice. An easy enough job until they discover something is inside Emma Jean, and the fate of the planet hangs in the balance. The Family Business by Mike Coopery from BaneBooks.com.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to mymagicmud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. mymagicmud.com, FTL20.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
You can help more people hear the message of liberty by joining Free Talk Live's AMPS program on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. And you'll get access to special perks. Visit amps.freetalklive.com, amps.freetalklive.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
And
we're back!
That didn't quite work out the way I hoped.
I thought it worked out great.
Well, that's
Our
good
producer's
rehearsal.
leaving, though, so I think
he's like,
I think we scared him away.
No, he's like, my work is done. That was awesome. You guys need no more production. You've done it all. You were perfect.
The show dedicated to Richie Rich.
603-283-6160. He is the founder of And We're Back.
Right.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
But, we also don't need to, blow him too much when he's not here in studio.
All right,
so.
Wow. Okay.
You can blow him as much
it
as
is.
you want when he's here in the studio. So.
Well, I don't do that.
Well, I already do, and that amount is 0. So we're here, and this is where we are.
Here we are.
This is Free Talk
It doesn't
Live.
matter where we are as long as we're here.
Wherever you go, that's where you're at.
That's
How about another truth bomb?
Oh, what a good idea. Here on
Yeah.
Free
reminder.
Talk Live.
Good reminder.
Yeah.
Here on Free Talk Live, we'll do Truth Bomb number 11.
Before we, I thought
Wait.
I thought we had to talk to
10?
Major Payne about the Vikings.
We will. Did we skip
Well,
one?
if we go straight to the Vikings, we'll forget about the truth bomb.
Okay.
So
Did we? How am I ahead one? 7, 8, 9. Oh, we skipped one.
Oh. 11 is the new 12.
All right, so 10 was 9, and 9 will be 10 now. So just to further confuse our listening audience.
All right.
We have to recognize that we must not hope for utopia. That is unattainable. I would like to see a great deal less government activity than we have now, but I do not believe that we can have a situation in which we don't need government at all.
Oh, boo.
And that would be utopia?
Yeah, no wonder I skipped this one.
Yeah,
I don't
bad.
like this one.
We don't like that one.
Milton, obviously a minarchist. He thinks that we need just a little
He'll
bit
come
of,
around.
We need well, he's dead now. So.
Okay. Well, he came around.
Well, I mean, who's going to pave the roads?
He thinks that we need just a little bit of a violent organization that does only violence and threatens people. So, no wonder I skipped it. Perhaps I knew that was coming, and I subconsciously prophesized that we'd need to skip one
telephony
earlier, but then the producers corrected me.
But he is entitled to his opinion. So I don't know if I would call it a truth bomb, but it's definitely
I'd say
a bomb.
9 out of 10. I mean, he's doing pretty well.
He's doing good so far.
Yeah, even though he's dead.
If you enjoy this show, and if you're watching via video.freetalklive.com, you're actually watching Odyssey. And Free Talk Live's video archives have been on LBRY for years. LBRY is an uncensorable, decentralized, blockchain-based media sharing protocol that we're big fans of here on Free Talk Live. In 2020, LBRY launched Odyssey, a video sharing website to compete with YouTube, and it's really taking off with over 1 million channels, many of which are disaffected YouTube creators. So during YouTube's crackdown for not towing the government line on all things COVID, the Free Talk Live YouTube channel started receiving strikes and could be completely taken down at any moment. Thankfully, Odyssey started offering live streaming, and now we're streaming live every night and posting our video archives permanently to Odyssey. You can watch live or anytime on our Odyssey channel by visiting video.freetalklive.com. If you want to go all in, download the desktop app at lbry.com. And then every video archive you watch, you'll help seed and keep it online forever. Forever. Visit video.freetalklive.com and follow us on Odyssey today. That's video.freetalklive.com. All right, we've got the truth bomb out of the way. We've got the live read out of the way. We've did our We're Back intro. Am I missing anything?
No, I think that's it. Just Vikings.
I don't think we did our name call here.
Who are we?
Who are you?
Oh, I'm the captain.
Steve Classic.
And I'm Nikki.
All right. And who do we have on the phone?
Major Payne.
This is Major Payne.
Major Payne, what's this about waterboarding and Vikings?
Welcome to the pirate radio broadcasting system. Arr.
Aye.
And we, the people, are back, I should say. Yes. Arr. But, it's not waterboarding, dude. It's a waterboard. It's like a sundial, but it floats in a bucket, so it'll stay level on a bucking ship. And what they would do, this is a pretty simple gizmo for pretty much for traveling east to west. At high noon, they would draw a circle where the top of the shadow of the stick hit the dial.
Mm-hmm.
And that would tell them if they were holding a true course. And then it had another gizmo that they came up with, which was called a sunstone. And near as I can figure, it's a real close to clear, milky white quartz. And on a cloudy day, you can hold it up and it'll work like a little magnifying glass, kind of.
Okay.
So it'll give you a hint of where the sun is,
Where are we going with this story, Major?
Well, I'm trying to head all the way from New Orleans to Norway, if you'll give me the time. You might owe me another quarter, Captain. I told you this.
I mean,
all right,
can you fast forward a bit?
Yes. So at that time, when they discovered how to navigate the ocean, they started raiding England. And they discovered all these monasteries and churches with great booty. Until that time, they'd just been raiding the Russians up north, and they were lucky to get sheep and grain.
I'm sorry,
right?
you said great booty. I had to laugh.
Come on, clean up that humor.
That hadn't come to me, but okay, I'll take it.
Sure.
So anyway, at this time, there were 4 kings of England, okay?
Okay.
And the Vikings kept pillaging.
Did we lose you?
Major? Oh, we did.
And they ended up giving the Vikings Scotland, so they'd quit terrorizing their people. Wow. So right across the Irish Sea there, who's there to this warrior culture that has this great new land? Ireland.
Yep.
So that's how the Black Irish Pirates came to be.
Wow.
One of my kin is Captain Kidd. He was the original first mate of Blackbeard.
No relation to Captain Kickass.
This dude had some tricks up his sleeve. This was back in the day when they had matchlock muskets and such.
Okay.
Right? They had these big, long, smoldering fuses. And he had this big, nasty beard and all this big, nasty hair, and he'd stuff all these fuses into his face and his head and light them up. And when he come through that cloud of cannon smoke looking like the devil himself on fire, it just scared the bejesus out of people.
Sounds scary.
But, so anyway, Captain Kidd ended up getting some ships from Blackbeard. And right about that time, there was an armistice signed between the pirates and the crown because they were tired of getting pillaged too.
Okay.
So they forgave the sins of all the pirates, and you guys just go ahead and keep your booty, and that'll be that. But there was 3 brothers, the Barnetts, and they lived. This is during when they still sold slaves down in Nowlands.
Okay.
If you go down to the old French Quarter, there's 3 great big granite auction blocks, and the one in the middle has a big stone arch over it. Says Barnett. There's Barnett banks all over the South. It's old money.
Okay.
But these 3, near as I can figure, were the sons of Captain Kidd. 2 of them ran slave ships, and 1 stayed on the mainland and sold the product.
Okay.
So,
well, anyway. hang on, Major, because, you've hooked us in this long. I still fail to see your point, but hopefully you'll get there. Stand by. Captain Kidd and the Barnett Stones. And
Blackbeard.
And Booty. Let's not forget Booty.
That's not funny, Captain.
Well,
it might be.
He said Big Booty.
That's still not funny.
It's very funny.
Not funny.
It's also attractive. 603-283-6160.
Carl Watner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Watner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Carl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. Raging wildfires have ripped through parts of southern Europe and the Mediterranean, from France to Morocco to Greece. Thousands of people have been evacuated from their homes, and firefighters have been battling soaring temperatures to try and put out the flames. On Sunday, Spain hit more than 40 degrees Celsius. Authorities in Portugal, which at one stage hit a July record of 47 degrees Celsius, say almost 700 mostly elderly people have died in the last week because of the heat. Heat waves increase the risk of heat stroke, among other things, with health experts particularly worried about older people and those with underlying health conditions. In the UK, temperatures are expected to reach 41 degrees in some areas. A June paper in the journal Environmental Research, Climate, found climate change has increased the intensity and likelihood of heat waves, which can be directly linked to tens of thousands of deaths. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has sacked his security chief Ivan Bakhanov, as well as the country's prosecutor general. Sergio Olmos has more on this major overhaul from the capital, Kyiv.
The firing of the prosecutor general is significant because Ukraine is at the moment investigating some 23,000 cases of alleged war crimes, coupled with the firing of the head of the SBU. This is Ukraine's internal security service, kind of like their FBI. The head of the SBU is a childhood friend of President Volodymyr Zelensky. The SBU has been coming under criticism since the war began for strategic failures that have led to real setbacks for Ukraine. Many cities, smaller cities like Chernihiv, held out while major strategic cities like Kherson were able to be captured. This has been blamed on failures by the SBU.
A new report into May's mass shooting at a primary school in Uvalde, Texas, which killed 21 people, has found systemic failures in the overall response. The 77-page document was released by the Texas House Committee. The committee's report was delivered to the families of victims before being made public. It blamed Robb Elementary School for failing to adhere to safety protocols. Republican State Representative Dustin Burrows said it became clear to the committee that the school was not prepared for an active shooter situation and that there was a false sense of security surrounding the school.
If there's only one thing that I can tell you is there were multiple systemic failures.
The report is also the first to criticise both federal and state law enforcement and not just local police. It also found there were almost 400 officers from various agencies at the scene of the shooting, but that none of them took clear leadership of the situation. 77 minutes elapsed between the gunman's first shots inside a classroom full of children and the police's intervention in that room. The Texas House Committee didn't come to a conclusion about whether it thought a faster response could have prevented more deaths. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
And we're back.
And we're back.
We're back.
I was just trying to get in there before you guys did.
Quick. Listen quick. Listen quickly.
I was trying to usurp the "and we're back." It didn't really work out. 603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live. We've been talking about these 12 truth bombs by Milton Friedman. So far, I approve of 11 of them. So far.
10 out of 11?
Or 10 of them.
10 out of the 11.
Or maybe even 9, because, well, whatever. Anyway, one of them I didn't like. Number 11, though, for this segment is the case for prohibiting drugs is exactly as strong and as weak as the case for prohibiting people from overeating. We all know that overeating causes more deaths than drugs do.
It's true.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
Yeah. And it's just as ridiculous to prohibit drugs in any way, shape, or form, make them illegal, right? Instead of, people who get addicted, people who do, stupid things when they're on drugs, they need treatment. They do not need prison. They do not need to be felons. They need help.
Right, you're going to get people at the Golden Corral at the buffet and start hauling them to jail because you're eating too much?
That's bad for business.
Everybody, hands down, would be like, no, that's wrong. But when it comes to drugs, they're like, yeah, throw them in prison. We'll pay for it. I don't care.
Tax me more.
All right, we have to finish. We have some unfinished business here. Hang on just a second. Is that Major?
Yeah, you gave me a good segue. I was just thinking it must have been that safety meeting that threw your count off there.
All right, so something about black licorice and Nollins, Barney Stones.
I didn't say nothing about no molasses mess.
Oh, and booty. Big booty.
Booty. Yeah, you got your head stuck on that one. All right. Well,
I'm a dude, so
this story is related to me from my father, from my great uncle Kyle.
But fast forward and get to the point if you can.
All right. Well, I just got to say that he used to ride a big old Indian, and that does not mean a fat bottom squat. So you were stuck on booty. Put that head in my thought.
Yeah, it's a motorcycle.
Yeah. So anyway,
are you done? Is that the end of the story? I thought your story had a point.
No. It's not the end of the story. According to Uncle Kyle, there is Captain Kidd's buried treasure still somewhere up around Connecticut, Rhode Island, buried along the coast there. So there's I did it. Uh-oh. Damn it, you have to dump me. Bye.
Bye, Major. That's too bad. I guess we'll never know about Uncle Kyle.
And he said it's somewhere in Connecticut.
I know. We were just getting to the good part.
What exit on 95 is it? I'll be there.
That's kind of near us. Well, the Major's been dumped.
Wah, wah.
He's been flushed. I should flush more people. No, I'm just kidding.
It is pretty funny, even though we can't hear it in the studio.
I caught it. I'm looking right at you, and I'm like, You were all involved in the story.
Something I was.
He's thinking about Rhode Island.
I was hanging on by, They sold me the whole seat, but I only needed the edge.
Sunday.
Yeah, that's too bad because usually Major's got like good stories, and I don't know what happened.
Call back tomorrow.
Maybe he had a little too much of the sauce. I don't know. Try to tell.
It's always tomorrow.
Major Payne. So that's my
drinking Captain. He didn't. I thought he was talking about Captain Morgan.
Also, Captain Kidd sounds way too close to Captain Kickass, in my opinion. Every time he said it, I'm like, is he going to say the right one?
Captain Morgan.
All right, moving right along. Sarah in New Mexico, are you with us?
Yes, I'm on, and
yep, you're on the air. What's on your mind?
Say that there's a New Mexico state representative that wants a high-speed train from Chihuahua, Mexico to Denver, Colorado.
Chihuahua to Denver, okay.
So it's those ones that are must be magnetic levitation trained that goes from 150 to 200 miles per hour. And I've seen these at the PBS shows when they travel to Japan and Europe many times over. So, they've had these for decades, and I've been talking about it on this radio show. So they're really trying to do it in connecting Mexico to Mexico to New Mexico to Colorado, and they really want to do this. And they had a discussion about it last year.
Who?
The New Mexico. They brought it up last year and it got bombed out. So then now he's going to bring it up again.
Okay.
So I'm just really excited. So it's magnetic. So it's levitated 1 inch, I was told. So it doesn't have any friction. So when they run electric currents, it suspends the trains so that the rails are not touching. So, I'm just really excited.
Well,
because,
Sarah, have you been to, I don't know, Europe or anywhere where they do already have these high-speed rails?
No, but I watch Rick Steves' European travel shows on PBS.
So you've at least seen one of these. You know that this isn't really new, and quite honestly, the United States of America is kind of behind the times when it comes to implementing high-speed rail.
Are you going to go to Mexico if they do this, Sarah?
Well, I don't know if I'm going to, but it's just the whole point is that we're behind times. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah. So
you and I are on the same page there. They're like, this form of transportation has been around. It has been, there's been, I can't think of a high-speed, a maglev train accident. I'm sure there's been one. But there's been few enough that everybody thinks that it is a completely safe form of travel. So the fact that it hasn't been implemented here is bothersome to me, especially in the land of the free, where we're supposed to have free enterprise and the market is supposed to be able. They can't.
Right.
It hasn't been done because they have to go ask permission from a whole bunch of different agencies, and then they all have to get together and have a big meeting where they sit down and waste a bunch of people's time.
I'm sure
money.
they have to do that in Europe too. I don't think Europe's any better than U.S.
The thing is that the European countries are very environmental. They're fanatical about recycling and electric, clean energy more so than America. This has been the biggest lobby is the oil companies, and they're finally being shoveled aside. But before then, it was petrol oil. So much the free market, it's whoever pays the most money to lobby. And stop all these electric cars. They're the one that stop all of this.
Yes.
High-speed rail.
Agreed. The bureaucracy
right.
bureaucracy gets in the way of these things happening at the speed at which they should. Right? People invent things all of the time, and rarely do they even become a thing, much less make it to market, because of all of the hoops that you need to jump through in order to have your invention be released to the general public. It is.
But you know what? I really believe it's the auto industry, petroleum, the auto industry, insurance companies that were behind stopping one being built from L.A. to San Francisco. They tried it for many, many decades to build this, and somebody puts a stop to it. You know, who's hindering? It's because they're going to be losing, they lost in portfolio, the stock market portfolio of the petroleum and the car industry when they have this real high-speed trail. And also, people will be riding less airplanes, which consumes petroleum oil. See what I mean?
Yeah. Well, so, I mean, you touch on something that brings to mind the auto industry killed the electric car back in the 60s, I believe. And thanks for the call, Sarah. So electric cars, the idea has been around for almost as long, if not longer than I've been alive.
Or water-powered cars,
yes,
that too.
50 years, and the auto industry put it down.
Well, that maglev train sounds cool, but ultimately it's going to be run by Amtrak, so it's not going to work.
603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live is coming up.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with AgristHosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to AgristHosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's AgristHosting.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
And we're back. Final segment of tonight's episode of Free Talk Live. We're here 7 nights a week, 7 p.m. until 10 p.m. Eastern Time. If you didn't get on the show tonight, feel free to call back on any day, 7 nights a week, with very few exceptions, like Pork Fest and Fork Fest. You know, there were a couple of live shows that happened during that time, so the folks up at the fests could have a day off and enjoy the fests without having to do the radio show, so that was nice. However, in the studio, it's myself, the captain.
Steve Classic.
And Nikki.
We've been talking about the 12 truth bombs of Milton Friedman, the Nobel Prize winning economist. If you're familiar with like Austrian economics or counter economics, anything non-Keynesian, you've probably run across this guy's name or his work. And it's the final segment, so we're just going to read the last one. There are 4 ways in which you can spend money. You can spend your own money on yourself. When you do that, why then you really watch out what you're doing, and you try to get the most for your money. Then you can spend your own money on somebody else. For example, I buy a birthday present for someone. Well, then I'm not so careful about the content of the present, but I'm careful about the cost. Then I can spend somebody else's money on myself. And if I spend somebody else's money on myself, then I'm sure going to have a good lunch. Finally, I can spend somebody else's money on somebody else. And if I spend somebody else's money on somebody else, I'm not concerned about how much it is, and I'm also not concerned about what I get. And that's government. And that's close to 40% of our national income.
Oh, that's a home run statement, huh?
Knocked it out of the park.
Great one to end with.
Yep.
Thank you, Milton. We'll post this, of course, on all of our social media stuff. You can find us over at social.freetalklive.com for all of our social media connections. But yeah, Milton Friedman, spot on. All government does is spend other people's money on other people, so they don't care. There's no cost-benefit analysis for them. There's no incentive for them to do it in a way that pleases people. There's no incentive at all for them to even think about it, and they don't. They write these things, they sign their name, and it's gone.
Right. And if it doesn't work, they keep spending more money.
That is correct. Let's go right to the calls. We've got Olivia in Arizona. Olivia, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, so I came to call to spill the tea on the other listeners, on the other callers. I mean, the regular callers, which most of them I find, anywhere from entertaining to tolerable.
We span the gambit.
I really enjoy Sarah's call. I'm happy to hear they have a high-speed rail coming. I wish they had one between where I am and New Hampshire, because I'm not thrilled about flying. Like, that's a really involved process. Mm-hmm. And I really wanted to hear more of Major Payne's story. I was so into it.
I warned him too. I was like, "Okay, dude, don't cuss," and he's like, "I won't," and then he did, and I had to dump him. So
he should know better. He calls in enough.
But yeah, Dave in New Mexico, I mean, really all he does is just bore the heck out of us listeners and just kind of expose what an unfit parent he is. I mean, he doesn't have electricity. He only goes to town once a month. What are his kids really supposed to be raised in the desert heat with no air conditioning in the middle of nowhere with this one guy who rants constantly in this bitter rage about how he doesn't have his kids that he can't support. I don't know. I think it's pathetic, but that's just me.
Yeah, I get you on that, but I also well, which caused what? Like, did he spend all his money trying to get his kids back, and that's why he lives the way he lives, or did he live that way before? I don't know this stuff. So.
Yeah, what came first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah,
What happened to James? What happened to James Whittakind? He used to call in all the time. And
oh my gosh, that's almost a dumpable offense. I'm just kidding. I wouldn't dump you unless you cussed.
But now that you said it, he's gonna call tomorrow.
Yeah,
that's how that works.
Yeah.
Did he just disappear on his own, or did he get banned?
Well, there was something done on the technical side to prevent that type of a call, and it seems to have worked so far. So let's try not to summon the guy, shall we?
Okay.
I don't know what she's talking about, but
good. I'll fill you in later.
Okay.
Hey, Olivia, thanks for the call. We appreciate you.
Need to know basis.
Let's move on to Jack calling from Washington State. Jack, you're on Free Talk Live.
Well, I really liked Olivia's call, man.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah, I was actually calling about Gigi and how much I appreciate her. She's like, I don't know, like a real intellectual. I don't know. But she, to respect her, she called about the 988 thing.
Right.
And all that is more government bureaucracy, and we know it. You know.
That's my
Who got
fear.
upset for that?
Yeah, I don't really know. So the government basically owns phone numbers, right? Even though people think they own their number, you really kind of don't. When you disconnect your cell phone, for example, that phone number does eventually get recycled. Government is in control. There's something called the North American Number Plan. There's a website you can go to, nanpa.com, if you want to learn more about this organization and what they do and how they manage the telephone numbers. But this is the organization responsible for what we call area code splits. So every now and again, either devices or population will take up all of the available phone numbers in a given area, and they will do what's called an area code split. They'll create a brand new area code, creating hundreds of thousands of new numbers under this new area code. Government is in control of all of that. So in reality, government owns all of the phone numbers. They've decided to allocate 911 to emergency services and now 988 to suicide. They also have dictated things like toll-free numbers. So at first there was only 1-800 numbers. Then they said, we're going to allow 888 to be the next toll-free numbers that are out there. And then 877 and then 866 and then 855. And it's all the FCC's rulings on this kind of stuff. So, yes, they own all the numbers. They own how they're used. They even own an entire bank in every area code so if it's your area code, whatever it is, 123, and then 555. Those don't ever actually get assigned to phones.
Yeah, hold on. Hollywood uses the 555 number.
With the exception of Hollywood, right? So every time you see
good lobby,
every time you see a 55 number in film or television, it's fake because the government says no, don't assign those to anybody else so that they can use them in film and television.
What about 211 and 311, 811?
Is that the real reason?
Yes.
That's ridiculous.
The Hollywood lobby.
Well, so Hollywood is Hollywood. They got a bunch of rich people who can lobby and contribute to campaigns and stuff. So leave it to them to get something done.
These volunteers on the other side of the line, though, I mean, if I'm really suicidal, and I call in, somebody who's volunteering to talk to suicidal people, I don't know, man. I don't know if that, maybe you should go to your father or a brother or a cousin or someone or a friend.
Go ahead.
Well, a lot of these people, I don't know if they're volunteers or not. I think it would make more sense to have it be their job so they're getting paid because there's a little bit more reliability in that. And there's more of a screening process with an employee versus someone that's volunteering. But I'm assuming that the people that are on the other line are mental health professionals that have experience in the field and they know how it's not just random people that sucks. Sorry you feel like that. Hopefully you don't kill yourself.
My understanding with the suicide hotline volunteers is that these are people who have come out of the other side. They've had some experience with suicide. Maybe they attempted it themselves. or a family member has gone through it, whatever, I would actually prefer the people that I'm talking to, if I have to call a suicide hotline, to be volunteers, because you know their heart is in it. They're doing it for nothing.
okay.
They want to be there. They want to help people. You can't really question their motives. If it's a paid position, you're going to get people who their heart isn't in it. They're doing it for the job. They're going to slack. They're going to be like, oh, I'm just doing this to watching the clock. Oh, it's 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bob. Right? Sorry you're suicidal,
Union
but
contract
I
says
gotta
we have
go.
to finish.
Yeah. Well, if you ever worked at a call center, that's how it works. I have, telemarketing or whatever.
Yep.
But, you mean well when you're trying to sell the product or, create an appointment or whatever you're doing. But at the end of the day, everyone just goes out and drinks beers. Anyway, thanks, guys.
Hey, have a good night. Thanks for the call.
And what about 1-800-illiteracy? I mean, they need a shorter thing.
Yeah, if only people could read the number. We're out of time. Thanks to all of our callers, our listeners, Nikki, Steve Classic, for being with me in the studio tonight.
Thanks, Captain.
If you missed any part of our show, find the archives over at freetalklive.com. Thanks and peace.
Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. It's Bitcoin.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone? You forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection. You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul, with discounts